It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Stacey Higginbotham's here. We're going to learn her secret author name today. So is Jeff Jarvis. We'll talk about Google, their second biggest acquisition of all time, a security firm that actually is in the news today. Twitter's announced a new TOR Onion service just for viewers in the Ukraine and Russia so they can still see what's going on in the world. And they found Edward Shackleton's boat, the Endurance, deep beneath the ocean in the Antarctica. We've got some pictures. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 654, recorded Wednesday, March 9th, 2022. Did we do the ad? This episode of This Week in Google is brought to you by Streak. Whether you're tracking sales, fundraising, hiring, or doing support, Streak is a CRM that will help you stay on top of all your processes directly inside Gmail. Get 20% off your first year of their Pro plan, the most popular option, by going to streak.com/twig. And by Codecademy. Join over 50 million people learning to code with Codecademy and see where coding can take you. Get 15% off your Codecademy Pro membership when you go to codecademy.com and use the promo code TWIG. And by CashFly. CashFly is giving away a complimentary detailed analysis of your current CDN bill and usage trends. See if you are overpaying 20% or more. Learn more at twit.cashfly.com. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, or on Google, or of Google, the show where we talk about everything but Google. So maybe this week, but Google, Twig. Stacey Higginbotham is here. It's great to see you, Stacey, from, Stacey on IoT.com and the Fabulous IoT podcast. They just had their corporate retreat.
They had a team building exercise.
Team building exercise. Did you tell Kevin?
Stacey fell back and said, Kevin,
exactly,
catch me.
Exactly. Did you tell Kevin, catch me?
Yeah, no.
You better, boy.
They had an icebreaker
There's way
to
more
start
of
the
me
whole
than of
thing
Kevin.
off.
Hi, my name is Kevin, and my favorite ice cream flavor is chocolate. Also with us, the Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York, Mr. Jeffrey Jarvis. Hello, Jeff.
Hello.
Did you ever get called Jeffrey?
Only by my mother when she was alive.
Jeffrey.
She was enraged at me, really pissed, because our wedding invitation, when she saw it printed out, I did Jeff.
Oh, wow.
How could I do that?
Wow.
It was just, she was
not
so
very
pissed.
formal.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Jeffrey
Stacey,
Allen.
did you stay delicious, Higginbotham, on your wedding?
Stay delicious.
Stay delicious? No. Okay.
That was not. Although, I'll throw this out to everybody.
Yeah.
Ideas accepted. 2 weeks from today is my husband's and I, our 20th anniversary.
Oh, that's a big one.
It feels like that, but I just looked up. I was like, oh, crap. And he's like, it's in 4 days. What do we do? And I was like, no, it's much later. But yeah, if anyone has any ideas, I don't even know what to do for 20 years.
Oh, that's a huge anniversary.
It's kind of a long time.
I think you have to go to Paris, as I remember.
We're going in July. So that's what he said.
You are?
Perfect.
So I'm like, okay, we're done.
Perfect.
And that counts. That counts.
We're going to Sitka, Alaska in July.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah, it's already coming.
That's the TWiT cruise. I know.
Oh, I forgot about the TWiT cruise.
Yeah, so did everybody.
When is it? When is it?
It's July 16th to the 23rd, cruise.twit.tv. Although I think it might be sold out. I don't know. But check if you want to go. It's not too late. It'll be Lisa, my wife, and I, and Paul Thurrott and his wife. And we'll be probably, and then there's a few other Windows people who are going who've jumped on as well. So it's going to be a fun event. The TWiT cruise to Alaska. I'll tell you what, if it goes well, which is so far has gone very well, we'll do another one, and you can go. You guys can go. Cruise.
If I may be so nosy as to ask.
Yes.
Is this an excuse to get a free trip to Alaska for yourself, or do you actually make some money on it?
No, that's a very good question. I used to do cruises for Insight Cruises, which was Geek Cruises at the time, and I did about 10 of them. And at the time, I was doing them because they were free cruises. But then I realized it's free in name only. You really have to work pretty hard. And at this point, we can afford to pay for our cruises. So it's really I think it's more a team building exercise for our TWiT friends, our community. I think we make $50 a head or something. It's some ridiculous, ridiculous amount. So there'll be some money in there, but not a huge amount.
Not much. Yeah.
Yeah. They give you.
But it's nice to see
2
your
cabins.
audience.
Yeah. Mostly it's honestly, that's the real reason to do it, just to hang out with.
Well, plus, and you're hanging out. You don't have to do programming. You just
we have to do some.
There is programming.
We have to do some. We have cocktail parties. We have several events we have to do. Yeah. But we want to do more. We're actually doing more than we're required to do.
What I mean is you don't have to lecture or something.
Yeah, you have one lecture.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But what's your topic?
Me, the thing I know the most about.
Oh dear.
No, it's I don't know. I think there's one. There's like a meet and greet. There's some events. Yeah, and one of which Paul and I will take to a stage and swap war stories or something. Yeah.
Do you go salmon fishing or anything?
You could if you want. There's lots of excursions. I'm actually now debating whether I should really go mush huskies on a glacier, but that is an option.
I hear that's super fun. A friend of mine
really
has done
fun.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, good. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that.
Right, well, if I'm back from Paris, I'm happy to wave y'all goodbye at the.
See, that's your 20th anniversary. You're going to Paris. And
goodbye.
It doesn't have to be at the same day as your anniversary. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
That's very romantic.
Did I ever tell you that
I'm going to work. Does that count? I'm giving a speech on low power wide area networks.
You get a good deal. Yeah, that's fine.
How do they say that in French?
It's so romantic.
I'm like, petites, I don't know. I think they call those LP-WANs in French.
Even in French.
Les LP-WAN.
I do want to warn you that they call Wi-Fi Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So get ready for that.
And they call Vladimir Putin,
which I love.
Okay.
Speaking of, I feel guilty about even talking about vacations and cruises and trips to Paris with a horrific war of aggression going on in Ukraine. And of course, for the last, whatever it's been now, 2 weeks, that's all we've been talking about on these shows even, because there's a huge, tech angle to all of this. I don't know how much we want to spend, but as you know, Google has pulled out of the market, its app store out of the market. But there are Russian app stores, and you take a wild guess what the number one app is in the Russian app store. It's VPNs. Like, wow, they just took off. Just took off in the last couple of days, which I think is sort of encouraging. I mean, we're seeing 500,000 downloads of VPNs in this past week alone. And I think that means that they want to get real news. They don't want the...
Julia Ioffe, who is my favorite commentator on this, I think she's just utterly brilliant, and she's Russian and American. And she talks about how the only way you can get any information now is by setting up a VPN, and that's only going to be a certain very small elite doing it. But that's it. That's the only way.
I was listening this morning to the Puck News podcast. That's where she is now, at puck.news. And she was on the podcast. She was practically in tears. She was just devastated.
Yeah, it's been really affects her.
Yeah.
She has friends, and also just for the state of Russia. It affects her for Ukraine, obviously, but also for Russia. People are leaving. I've been reading the Helsinki Sanomat, thanks to Google Translate, and there are trainloads of Russians getting the heck out, trying to figure out where to go. Their credit cards, Julia reported this, the credit cards supposedly pulled out, they still work in Russia. The problem is they don't work outside of Russia. So the people who are getting the hell out can't use their credit cards now.
Yeah. And you can't go to an ATM?
No, in fact, one of the places they said, I saw somebody did an hour-long video about how to leave. And it was in Russian. I didn't know, but whoever summarized it said that you can still use the Chinese credit card clearances. So in some cities, if you go to Chinese restaurants, they still use that for their customers, and you can eat.
We talked. Cory Doctorow was on TWiT on Sunday. We talked a little bit about why kicking Russia off the internet would be a very bad idea.
Yes.
Ukraine asked ICANN to suspend Russian internet domains.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but ICANN was never going to do that. I mean, that's actually a relatively common ask. Andrew and I were talking about that. Not relatively common, but countries do ask this for various conflicts, or governments will ask ICANN to take their country offline as a form of punishment or censorship. I mean, there's all kinds of. It's not that uncommon, is the point.
Motherboard quote from Frederick Jennings, a cybersecurity lawyer from Brooklyn, said, asking ICANN to remove .ru TLDs or take action against Russian internet traffic is like asking Rand McNally to remove Russia from the map. Probably ethically defensible, but practically absurd and counterproductive. And ICANN said, look, this is not, we are non-governmental. And the last thing we want to do is get political, because, of course, it was Russia that was pushing to get the U.S. Commerce Department out of ICANN and other internet activities, because they felt like it was, America being too involved. So this would just give them more leverage into that. So ICANN was very clear that no, that's not how
it's
it
the right
works.
decision.
Yes. No. It's also, and this is one thing that concerns me about a lot of the sanctions. It would have side effects, harmful side effects that wouldn't really hurt Putin, but might hurt the Russian people, might hurt the world economy, might hurt other things. It's very challenging to think of what sanctions you can do that would be persuasive to a madman and not really hurt the people of Russia.
But you also want political pressure. The other thing that Julia Ioffe says is that Moscow has long been anti-Putin. He's surrounded by the people who don't like him, but the entirety of the rest of Russia is very pro-Putin, pro-war.
But what are they going to do? Rise up against him?
At some point?
They may not be happy. Yeah, but I mean, is that your strategy? That's how we're going to deal with Putin? I don't know. You actually have a good article you wrote at Buzz Machine. What is our moral line in Ukraine?
This was, and I had no position here. I was trying to just think through the implications of the tough decisions. We're obviously not going to do a no-fly zone.
No, and that's a simple thing to figure out, because how do you enforce a no-fly zone? Well, you're going to shoot Russian planes out of the sky. That's how you enforce it. That seems like a bad idea at this point. That's an act of war.
Right. But, in a way, so if we say that he can do anything up to using a nuke, then that gives him license to do lots of horrible things. So
absolutely.
Is there a different line? If he used chemical weapons, would we do it? He's using his thermobaric weapons. We're letting him do it. So in a sense, this line in the sand gives him license to use any other weapon. The same as the NATO line. If he attacked Finland tomorrow, are we now saying we wouldn't do anything the same as we didn't for Ukraine? Yeah. So we've given him license to do that. So
point.
There's also a secondary issue, which is that China is watching very carefully, because, of course, they'd like to invade Taiwan, and calculating, I would imagine, with great precision, what would be the consequence to them of doing that, and watching and see what the West does. So there's more than just controlling Putin.
Yep. A friend of mine is the former president of Estonia, Toomas Ilves. And it's fascinating to watch him on Twitter, because he really hates Putin and Russia, and says basically, I've been warning you all these years. Are you going to listen? And he said to Finland outright, are you going to listen?
Well, that was one of the points Cory made, is that we've been building up to this for 20 years. Our America policy and NATO policy has really been paving the way for this all along. But that's not very useful. At this point, it's like, okay, great. Let's take a time machine back. What do we do today is the real question.
Right.
And what can we do today, and what will be effective today? One of the things I brought up, it reminds me of how much, and you've always said this, Jeff, don't regulate, use norms to control behavior. Don't regulate the internet, use norms. How much we rely on norms in our lives. But when people are willing to act outside the norms, this came to me, I was watching a video of a drugstore in Los Angeles where a guy just walks behind the counter, starts loading a bag with stuff behind the counter, and everybody's like freaked out. Somebody's calling 911, but the guy's walks out the door with all his stuff. He violated a norm. We're so used to that norm, we think we're somehow protected. There's no consequence to that.
This was the entire Trump presidency. Was a guy who was repeatedly willing to violate norms.
I mean, then what do you do?
Well, I think that's one of the things that we've learned over the last few years is that, well, in that case, you have to have some sort of accountability or response that is,
yeah, that's the challenge.
You have to use force. That's when the state comes in, when you're like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
but
now we have to regulate this.
Yeah, but when you're using a force against another nuclear power, stakes are so high. Yep. And this is where I don't think we have a good solution. It's interesting to watch. Yeah,
this is
Go ahead.
terrible. No, this is a terrible problem. It is. This is where. This is a snotty kid with nukes, basically. Just having a tantrum and going his own way. And
honestly, and this is Julia Ioffi's take, a guy with nothing to lose.
Right. Yeah.
And that's really scary. And she points out this is the problem with people, with dictators, with people like Hitler and Pol Pot and so forth. Is Hitler wanted Germany to be destroyed if they couldn't win. The country did not deserve to exist. Fortunately, his generals did not follow up on his.
But there's a piece of that to Stacey's. Stacey's exactly right about Trump time, and my argument is that that's about people who know that they're going to lose their white hegemony, and they don't want to share it with those who follow, and so they'd rather destroy the institutions than share them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the reason I bring this up is we're seeing a lot of companies, tech companies, try to respond in a way that's reasonable. But it's also, there's two kinds of reasons you to respond. One is it looks good. It looks bad not to.
Mm-hmm. Or we can't get our money out anyway, so we might as well shut down.
Maybe that's another reason because we can't help it. And then there's the third, you're really trying to do some good. And there's, I think, a very strong question about, what can you do that's going to do some good? One of the things.
And we don't want Google to leave entirely because we want people to have some access to information.
Well, there's a good example. Apple and Google both pulled down their app stores, leaving many Russians who wanted to use Signal in the dark because they could no longer get it, or a VPN because they could no longer get it. And so, okay.
Do you think they should have left the app store up?
I don't know. What do you think? I don't know what the answer is. You certainly want to send a very strong signal that this is not okay. But you also don't. Look, most of the Russian people are innocent in this, right?
Stacey, what do you think?
This is the sort of thing we debate over dinner at our house. So I think here's the issue. I think most people in Russia, it's like 120 million people, 110 million people. It's a lot of people, and even if you look at your VPN stats, not everybody cares to know or wants to know or seeks this out, right? So you've got to recognize that by pulling this
145 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And there's 40 million in Ukraine.
Okay. So if you take their access away, not all of them were going to access it anyway. What you're doing is taking easy access away. And I still think in times of war, the people who want the information will actually go to efforts to get it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No.
That was the doctrine in China, right?
Yeah,
and
but
you
that
also
hasn't
not
worked
just
out well.
go to get information, you also create languages to share information.
Right.
In China.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You create heuristics to stand for things because you can't use
and
the
it's
actual
ever
language.
evolving.
So
Exactly.
We've mentioned before, we'll probably mention him a lot, the Ukraine Minister of Digital Transformation, the 32-year-old Mikhailo Fedorov, here shown in a black hoodie, appropriately, has called for hackers to come to the aid of Ukraine. And the response has been dramatic. Tens of thousands of self-proclaimed hackers have volunteered. And I just don't even understand how you would assign them jobs and manage them. So what you're really asking for is total chaos.
They'll benefit from it. But did you also see Bloomberg actually did a really good story about an employee, I believe, who used to work at Uber, who is Ukrainian, and now he's gone over back to Ukraine to manage their supply side and procurement.
Nice.
And it was a really interesting story about people who have, other skills coming back and trying to help build the infrastructure needed for war based on
Andrei
their experience here.
Liskovich.
There you go. You found him.
Yep. This is an article from
Good Googling.
Brad Stone.
It's a good story.
Yeah.
Contagious courage. That's a really nice phrase.
Yeah. And then there's the mother and children who were killed in Ukraine fleeing the fighting, who was in fact a controller working for a Silicon Valley tech company remotely. So it goes both ways. I mean, it really hits all of us.
Oh.
And you just want to do something, and of course, we can donate and things like that. But what can these tech companies do that's appropriate, and that's not gonna backfire? It's very, and you raise you really interesting point, Jeff, which is whatever you don't do is permission. For, wherever you don't draw the line,
right,
is permission, and that's terrifying.
And the same with the Polish jets now is, no, that's too risky. Okay, so now we've acknowledged that line.
Yep.
It's. I mean, so I was going to say this at the end, but I'll bring it up now. I just finished listening to where to go the von Neumann biography that's just out. Man from the Future: The Visionary Life of John von Neumann.
I'll have to listen to that. Yeah.
Oh, you'll like it. You'll like it a lot. Both of you will, I think. But of course, he was arguably the pioneer of game theory. And so listening to it was fascinating in the current context of this is all game theory, right? And are you dealing with someone who's going to make rational, if sick, choices in Putin?
Yeah, it is
or
game
not?
theory. It is game theory.
It's all game theory.
Yeah,
it's all game theory, and it's really interesting to see it then abstracted to that level.
But you remember all of the game theory stuff that went on with atomic war.
That's exactly it.
And oh wow, it seemed like brinksmanship in many ways. You have to have a lot of faith in game theory. I don't know if I have the nerve.
My brother,
it's a game of chicken.
Yeah, my brother texted me. He's like, "I love you. We might die soon." And I was like,
"Oh my God,
calm down."
I don't think it's that bad yet. I hope not.
No. Although my husband did let me know that just nearby in Bremerton is the largest supply of nuclear bombs in the United States. So I was like,
there's that.
But you know what? If I'm going to go out in a nuclear explosion, I'd rather be closer than farther.
Actually, I'm embarrassed to admit, I did go to the nuke map to see. Do you know about nuke map? You put in your location, and then you choose what kind of bomb. Let's enter a yield, or you could select a preset. Let's say Little Boy, the Hiroshima bomb, a 15 kiloton bomb. I've got my pin dropped in New York City, so let's just see.
Well, thanks a lot, Leo.
Oh, you're safe. You're safe.
Bye, Jeff.
You're safe. But
one of the big stories I did at the Examiner when I was in San Francisco, when I was Sunday editor there way back when, was Lawrence Livermore Lab had developed the neutron bomb. We destroy life, but the buildings stay okay. It's the real estate bomb.
Yep.
And it was developed at Lawrence Livermore, right there near you.
Yep.
And so we did the same thing. We did maps of the Bay Area and what would go, and it was irresponsible as hell, but it was fun.
You'd publish that in the newspaper?
Well, page one.
Yeah. That is, I don't know if it's irresponsible. It's certainly scary. I don't know where. You're not going to. I think. You think Oakland? There's a lot of shipbuilding, but they're not going to try to knock our ships out. They're gonna try to cause as much pain because the war is going to be over in 15 minutes. I'm not worried about Silicon Valley. I'm saying what's the closest point that might be hit by a bomb. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm trying. Look, hey, this is kind of nuclearsecrecy.com if you want to have some fun. Here's a nuclear weapon tested by North Korea in 2017. If we're detonated, say, yeah, we're still safe. We're still safe. The fireball radius is that yellow circle. Radiation radius is the green. Moderate blast damage, gray. Thermal radiation, yellow. And then light blast damage, gray.
Well, and then obviously, so the advice is the best thing you can do is stay in your home until the worst of the radiation blows over you.
So the largest bomb ever tested by the USSR is a 100 megaton bomb. And even that doesn't quite reach Petaluma.
They have a few of them, Leo.
But they're not going to drop a bomb on Petaluma. Now, they might on Bedminster. So if I were, I'd be nervous. And Bremerton is definitely on the list. So anyway, it was nice knowing you. No.
Thanks.
So, Leo, when you were, let's do an old guy's moment here.
Yeah. Never did duck and cover. Never did duck and cover. Never did.
I did.
Oh, we did duck and cover.
You're kidding me, Stacey. You did? At your age?
Where you got under the desk? Oh, no, those were tornado drills. Never mind. We're good. You also got under the desk, but no.
One apocalypse or another apocalypse.
I do remember in my grade school, there were civil defense signs.
Yes.
And there were bomb shelters. There were nuclear bomb shelters. And so the civil defense sign, and there were barrels of water in there. So I was aware of it. I don't remember ever the duck and cover and that was more in the 50s where they, for some reason, thought you'd be safe under your desk if there were a nuclear war.
I know, it's absurd. It's so magnificently absurd.
Yeah. I think this is a way sometimes people deal with the unthinkable is to trivialize it a little bit. And so
or was that a PR effort to make us more scared than we needed to be?
Oh, do you think they wanted you to be scared?
Yeah, politically.
Here's a fun little tweet if you want to be scared. This is Russian police in Moscow stopping people to see what's on their phones. It's
very Star Wars too. And what they're
look at how they're dressed. They're just randomly apparently stopping people and scrolling through their messages to make sure that they're not.
That means they have the gloves that have the skin
that's a good point. Yeah, capacitive mittens.
Yeah,
capacitive. Thank you.
Wild. I mean, I don't know how widespread this is. Obviously, a lot of people are walking by and not being stopped. I don't know why they stopped these guys particularly. I don't also know why they're wearing shoulder pads, but maybe it's just more intimidating that way. The other funny thing is, and you'll be glad to know this, the police are wearing body cameras in Moscow. I mean, not to your advantage, I'm sure, in any way, but they all have body cameras on. Wow.
So what do you think about Twitter doing the TOR Onion?
So I think this is what I would put in her greenwashing. It looks good. Not sure what the benefit is. So they've launched a service that makes it, in theory, easier to access Twitter, which is right now very much curtailed in Russia. I don't think they've turned it off, but they've slowed it down, and they're certainly going through stuff. So the idea is to let people in censored countries access Twitter through TOR. And then this is the long address. I'm not going to say it because it would take me half an hour to read it, but there's a long onion address. You need a Tor browser, and you can go here. And the idea is, which I'm not using, so I'm not getting there. The idea is that by going through onion routers, go through many other servers to kind of anonymize your traffic. But there is a flaw in Tor, which is that it's possible to control the entry or exit nodes in such a way that you're de-anonymizing people. Almost certain Russia does that. We do it. So I would not, if I were worried about my life in a authoritarian regime, I would not use Tor. I would not assume Tor is private any more than a VPN is private.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I think that's kind of a mistake to encourage that.
Huh.
So that's
do you want to talk about another tech security thing? I think this is actually a really good one.
Yes.
It is the Critical Infrastructure Defense Project, which is CrowdStrike, Cloudflare, and it's not Royal Pingdom. It is.
Should be somebody with cloud in their name, though.
No, it's Ping. Ping Identity. That's it. That's who it is. They got together. So CISA, we talked about them last week. They did their Shields Up document on February 22nd that was basically like, hey, monitor your stuff. We're not being attacked from a cyber perspective yet, but here's your best practices you should follow. So these three companies got together, they teamed up on their various different service offerings and created a free for the next 4 months set of services that enterprises can use to implement the CISA's Shields Up program.
Oh, that's great.
And so
the Critical Infrastructure Defense Project, there's a posting here on Cloudflare describing it. CrowdStrike is, by the way, a sponsor. So I'm proud of that. Good job, CrowdStrike. And I think Cloudflare has been a sponsor. I don't think they are currently. And Ping Identity is the third. That's really interesting. Good for them.
Yeah, we're talking about all the, these things that are terrible, and we're debating all these moral things, and those are worth debating. But it's also worth noting that there are actual steps that if you are in IT, you can take. And
this is not greenwashing. This is absolutely genuine. Good stuff, right?
Yeah.
CriticalInfrastructuredefense.org is the website. Free cybersecurity services and support for 4 months. And this is in response to a potential threat from Russia of cyber warfare, cyber attack.
Which I will toot my own horn. I have a guy coming on my show tomorrow. So tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about the potential for industrial controls being hacked. So infrastructure attacks by Russia as a result of the invasion of Ukraine. And just as a sneak peek, I'm going to tell you that right now, it's not happening. We don't need to worry about that.
Which is interesting
right now.
And I'm not sure if that's showing restraint on the part of Russians or if the Ukraine
they're a little busy.
So yeah, maybe. Or Ukraine is knowing that Russia's been testing out their cyber warfare capabilities in Ukraine for a decade. Maybe they're prepared. Maybe they knew this. Maybe they're actually pretty hardened. By the way,
I think it's a couple things. Yeah.
Go ahead.
They are. I mean, in Ukraine, yes, they've been, taking action. But also, I think Russia can't do it in other places because that is, going to demand an immediate repercussion.
Right.
If Russia suddenly comes and attacks our infrastructure, we know they're already in our infrastructure.
They're here. Yeah.
If they do anything with that, especially if it leads to loss of life, that's like Pearl Harbor all over again, except launched from, a computer keyboard.
Well, we have our cyber warriors. They have theirs. China has theirs. North Korea has theirs. Iran has theirs.
If they do
I think we want to keep this from kind of getting into a hot cyber war.
I think that's really a lot of this too.
Yeah. I think also any sort of cyber attack in this, it's not going to remain in the digital sphere, right? If they actually blow up one of our dams, we're going to send actual military resources over there. That's what I mean. It's not going to be us going and hacking them back. It's going to be us.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You flooded, Buffalo, New York. We're coming after you now.
Yeah, but what if you did something less? What if you shut down the power grid and you could, and you did it in a way that maybe was not attributable to bad guys from Russia? What if you did that?
It would be attributable. I mean, we can figure that stuff out pretty well. I mean, it might take us a week.
We're not going to use. What are we going to do if we do that? See, this is the thing.
If they shut down the power grid, how many people die?
What are we going to do?
Well, if people actually die,
okay, let's say people died. What do we do?
Okay, if 500 people die, we're going after them.
Well,
I promise we'll send troops.
We send troops.
We will send troops over.
The problem is, how does this not escalate into a nuclear war that will kill hundreds and hundreds of millions?
Well, that's why I think Russia is kind of saying, hey, we're not going to deploy this yet. That's why we're not there yet.
See,
people are worried about it. But
they threatened last week to use nukes. And let's hope that maybe cooler heads are prevailing. But if Putin is nihilistic at this point, I think there's a real danger in the next few months, if it does not go well for Russia, that they will start doing things that are
the other thing that's going to happen,
the security of the entire world.
Yes, and I think the other thing that's going to happen is I follow very closely, oddly, Finland and Sweden now, because I'm fascinated by this. And thanks to the very good Google Translate, I can do that. And they're inching closer and closer and closer to joining NATO. They're
terrified. They're right on the border.
And
the
Finland,
fear is, if Russia succeeds in Ukraine, who's next?
Exactly. So, and in Finland, literally, people are calling and saying, if it happens, where am I going to be called up to? And where do I volunteer and stuff like that? So that's going to freak him out. That's going to piss him off. He considers that a hostile act, but they need the protection. And then we're, on the hook to protect them. But I go back to my post. If he goes and attacks Finland, okay, we stand back again. If he uses chemical weapons in Ukraine, we stand back. Is there no other line besides crossing the NATO bridge and nukes? Is that it? I don't know.
Patrick Beja, who's been on our show many times as a podcaster, who lives in Helsinki, had a long Twitter thread about how, just his own anecdotal stories of what's going on in Finland right now. I found it very, very interesting. Let's go to the very top here. The view from Finland. I don't know. It's complicated. I'm not going to read it to you, but it's because there's like 20 tweets. But Russians have always been torn between the reality of their TV and the reality of their fridge, which relates to sanctions. What are Finnish authorities thinking about right now? They're starting to look at decades-old plans for handling hundreds of thousands of refugees, not from Ukraine, from Russia. Trains and buses from St. Petersburg have been full for days. And with the Russian economy about to collapse, things aren't going to get better. Finland has a population of 5 million. That's St. Petersburg alone.
Yep.
And they're just over.
That's half the size of New Jersey's population.
Yeah. So there's.
I saw a video of people at the train station in Finland saying we had to get out.
Yeah.
We'll go anywhere.
Yeah. I don't want to make this the.
No.
The Russia this weekend.
Russian terror.
We can't ignore it.
Yeah.
This weekend, World War III.
Yes.
Yeah. I started putting stuff in the rundown, and I didn't know what your decision was going to be, so I put it together down at the bottom in other. I think it'll sadly get there where it is kind of other, but we can't not ignore it for a while. My happy place in the world, my happy place on Twitter is my book history wonks Twitter list, right, which I go to when all else fails me. Gutenberg and such. And it's all Ukraine now, of course, because these are human beings all concerned for the world, and everything is Ukraine now. Everything. As it should be right now.
Well, even if it's not, and you have moments of forgetfulness, which happens on our shows all the time, and then it floods back in on you shortly thereafter. Yeah.
Last week you did a hell of a lot of stories on the topic.
Yeah, I think we've done enough. We have plenty of other things we can talk about. Our hearts.
Do you want to talk about Google buying Mandiant as part of this, or is that? It kind of could go here or elsewhere.
That's not related to Russia, is it?
It's just cybersecurity.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. I would call that not a Ukraine story. So if there's certainly cybersecurity is going to be part of what
Google makes the pitch that it's more important now than ever.
Yeah, than ever. They've been talking with Mandiant since before the war. So the reason I know this is Mandiant talked to us about advertising about a month ago and then said, "Hold up." Hold up on that advertising thing there for just a minute. Just a minute. And now I think I know why. Our show today brought to you by Streak. Look, if you're using Gmail, you should be using Streak. As a startup founder, an entrepreneur, just a busy person, you probably live in your inbox. tracking sales, tracking fundraising, hiring, supporting your users. Streak, S-T-R-E-A-K, is a CRM that'll help you stay on top of all your processes without even leaving Gmail. Use Streak's free email tools to check if your emails have been opened. You can even send bulk emails with automated follow-up emails to improve your response rates. And yes, Google loves Streak. They don't just tolerate him. It was recognized as Google's Technology Partner of the Year, is used by thousands of founders and entrepreneurs and small business owners. It's built right inside of Gmail, so it's part of your everyday workflow. And it all comes down to these pipelines, which are so cool. You create pipelines to track what you're doing, all your processes directly within Gmail, whether you're prospecting for new customers or raising a fundraising round, create a pipeline. Growing your team, create a pipeline. Managing support tickets, create a pipeline. You don't have to leave Gmail. Everything's in there. Makes it easy to collaborate by automatically sharing emails and notes with anyone in your team. Look, it does so much. It's so powerful, and it's so easy to use. I say, if I tell you all the things it does, you're going to say that's hard to use. And if I don't, then you're going to say, well, it doesn't do enough. It does everything you want, and it's easy to use. How about that? But you got to try it. That's the only way. That's the only way. And the good news is it's free to use on your own. You could try Streak out today for free on your own. If you feel like it's doing the job, get the Pro plan. And you can, in fact, if you're going to do that, get 20% off your whole first year of their Pro plan. That's the most popular option, of course, when you go to streak.com/twig, streak.com/twig. If you're using Gmail, you know what a power tool it is, but now it can do a heck of a lot more. Manage everything from within Gmail. Get 20% off your first year of their Pro plan, streak.com/twig. Thank them for their support by using that address, and that way we get credit. So it goes. What comes around goes around. President Biden has signed an executive order that the crypto boys are all over about. They're so excited. I'm not sure why they're excited, but I guess it's at least acknowledgement that crypto exists. Yesterday, he signed an executive order emphasizing, this is from Vice, the U.S. government's commitment to ensuring that virtual assets are developed responsibly, and foreshadows the development of a digital dollar.
Does this make them happy or unhappy?
Makes them happy.
Huh.
I don't know.
So the rich dad, poor dad guy, who I didn't know was a Trumpian, kind of off the rails. He was going all. They're gonna destroy crypto. They're gonna take it all over. They're gonna make it one federal dollar. And I don't know why I'm quoting him because he's nuts. But
well, see, that's the thing.
There's that extreme part of this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I buy the interpretation. This is good news because you're right. It's saying is we're gonna look more into this. But everybody I read said, "Oh no, this is great." Vice says industry insiders appear to welcome the executive order, which was expected to be essentially positive on cryptocurrencies. This is Jerry Brito, director of a DC-based think tank, Coin Center. He tweeted, "The message I take from this guess what kinds of coins? The message I take from this executive order is that the federal government sees cryptocurrency as a legitimate, serious, and important part of the economy and society. And I think it's a good signal to serious people who've been holding back from getting involved." One of the things I think people like Jerry are saying is we needed guidance from the feds about this, or nobody would take it seriously. If they're gonna do things, at least we'll know what the roadmap is.
They're validating the technology. They're saying, hey, this is a thing worth looking at because we think it's a real thing. And when the federal government does that, even if they come in and squash it, at least they've said, okay. I mean, the next step is going to be like not squashing it. But if they come in and say, okay, we're looking at this, then everybody else is like, oh, well, the federal government's going to look at it. We'll take a look at it.
Well, it's partly that, but it's also just we need some certainty. In fact, there was a cryptocurrency exchange, one of our sponsors actually, that was fined a lot of money by the SEC, but welcomed it because they said, look, we'll pay the fine. What we wanted was clarification. They've never said, are these securities? What are these? So the FCC fine essentially said, yeah, if you're trading crypto futures or whatever it was, that's a security, and we're going to treat it like a security. Okay, so they actually, as bad as it is to get fined, welcomed it because now we know what the rules are, and this is a problem. It's what's going to make it hard for it to mature and to get people invested in it is the uncertainty of knowing how the feds are going to come down. So even if they come down potentially badly, at least we'll know. We need to know. And I think that if there is a digital dollar, there are people who would say that's a terrible thing. Probably the rich dad, poor dad guy, because, of course, that means maybe no more anonymity. And, the government's snooping on transactions. There is really only one completely private transaction. That's cash, unmarked bills.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that the reputation of crypto keeps getting worse and worse. I put a whole bunch of crypto stuff down under other in the one of which is 124 million crypto fraud operation with a brother and sister.
Oh, yeah.
Right? When that kind of stuff goes on, it hurts the reputation of safety of the entire field.
That's right.
If they want to make this broad.
Same thing with NFTs. There's all sorts of scams, and I saw somewhere 80% of NFTs are scams. So this needs... It has to stop being the Wild West. And then, if you're Wyatt Earp, you might say, "Oh man, I'm going to miss those good old days." But there's no future if you don't get some certainty on this.
I would find it useful. I don't know if you agree or not, because this is not a democracy. It only matters if you do. To almost discuss crypto a little more often on the show, just because it's such an important crypto and blockchain. Okay, well, all right, that was that.
Who was that?
I'll discuss the blockchain. That was the pained noise of like, oh,
God.
Wow. That was a stuck pig, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what. It was some animal was. I think we should.
Can I make that my ringtone, please?
Look, I am increasingly skeptical of all of this stuff. In fact,
that's why it's interesting.
Yeah,
but the architecture has potential.
Oh, nobody's saying there's not some interesting stuff, and blockchain obviously has some applications. It's a decentralized ledger. That's great. But as it's been implemented through cryptocurrencies and now NFTs and DAOs, it almost always seems to be at best speculative and at worst a scam. And so I'm very bearish on cryptocurrency in general and crypto in general. But yes, Stacey, and that's why Stacey made that noise. I'm sure she feels the same way. She doesn't want this to be the Crypto Bro show, and I understand.
I do not. I will abandon ship. Yeah. But I bring up things
a threat. No crypto
Jeff,
for us.
That is not a threat.
Out of here.
It's just a legitimate, nope.
No, you wouldn't
not
want
my jam.
Here.
You wouldn't
want
gone.
I promise to y'all, because I follow a lot of this, because I do think the blockchain is important for establishing trust, trust and authenticity in IoT. I get a lot of interesting pitches around data. I will bring those to you. And I will say, hey, look, this is actually pretty legit. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've done it in the past. I'll continue doing it, but we don't have to talk a lot about NFTs or cryptocurrencies.
Look, it's not. Blockchain's legit, but it's not about blockchain. Otherwise, people would be all excited about MongoDB or the latest YubiKey. It's if it were just a decentralized ledger database application by itself, no one would want to talk about it. They want to talk about it because of the huge amounts of money that can be made speculating on currencies that are created by using that technology. Now, so we could talk about blockchain, but I think blockchain, absent all of that stuff, is about as interesting as talking about Hadoop. It's just not.
MongoDB is not a distributed database.
But I'm saying it's a technology. There's lots of technologies out there.
Yeah. What's interesting is the utilities, the uses.
We don't spend hours talking about public key crypto. Yes, hugely important, valuable, because it was never tied to a $60,000 instrument. Nobody cares about it. So we talk about all of that stuff all of the time. I'm just saying that saying it's a good technology is not why people are talking about it. It's not why it's interesting.
Right. Well, I'll bring you the use cases that are.
Yeah. There's great.
That's what's
there's great use cases for public key crypto too, but that doesn't. That's just technology. That's not why there's all this tension. And by the way, every time I say this, and I will get it today, I'll get emails and tweets saying, "Okay, boomer." But
Yeah.
and I think Larry David isn't far off on all of this. Let's just put it that way. Now, there are lots of good.
I want to say that I am not a boomer.
Right. But we
My
didn't
email
spend
should be
hours,
addressed to Dear Gen Xer.
we did not spend hours talking about RSA encryption, as useful and positive and beneficial as it is. The reason we spend all that time talking about blockchain is not because it's a great technology and a distributed ledger.
Well, it's the simple rule. Cervantes didn't say, "I need to find a new use for print." He said, "I want to invent something new," and it was the novel.
Create the novel.
Yeah.
People talk about print a lot more than they talk about blockchain.
I was going to say, so if we bring up a lot of blockchain issues, are we just going to be tilting at windmills?
Oh, very good.
Ooh.
Very good. Very good.
All right.
All right.
What else we got to talk about?
Have we done all the blockchain we wanted to do?
Oh, no, I'm like,
let's see.
Well, I found this fascinating. I found this interesting. The Islamic debate over the permissibility of crypto. Because in Islam...
because they don't allow usury, not usury.
Right. So there's a Talmudic, to misuse it, a debate going on, which I found fascinating.
Quranic, maybe.
Quranic, thank you. Yes, that's much better, yes. A Quranic discussion about whether or not buying into blockchain is a form of usury, or is it just something that develops and builds value? And it's interesting how you take these things and people have to adapt them into their own norms and structures. So that's just worth mentioning, that's all.
They call it, is it Sharia?
Wow.
Sharia finance is what I've heard it used or called. If you want to give it the, not Talmudic, but it's Sharia. If you want to give it the proper affiliation.
But God has permitted trade and forbidden usury. So is it trade or is it usury? I would say it's closer to trade than usury. Usury is borrowing for interest.
Well, I would say gas is usury.
Well, just because it's usurious gas prices doesn't make it usury.
Right.
Gas, everyone's complaining about gas prices. Yes, they're high, but good
You
Lord.
say that as a Tesla driver.
I say, no, there's two reasons. It's because I've traveled frequently enough in Europe that I'm like, our gas prices are nothing.
Oh, I meant Ethereum gas.
You know,
I thought you meant gas.
I meant Ethereum gas.
No, see, I thought you were talking about price per gallon.
I thought you were getting off on some weird old man tangent. I was like, come on, Jeff.
And not only that, what's all this about $6 a gallon?
Exactly.
No, we're not talking about those gas prices.
This is a technology show, for God's sakes.
I was so confused. That's why I was
but
like,
Jeff, it's not been beyond you in the past to bring up non-technology related stories like Cervantes and the novel.
That's legit. That's legit.
It was technology back then. No,
yes,
I'll grant
it was.
you
That's
that.
the point. Yes,
I'll grant you that. Yes. In its day, it was technology. Technology is anything that wasn't invented when you were born. That's my definition. So Microsoft's purchase of Nuance just closed with the EU, finally can close after 11 months of regulatory scrutiny. That's why the Mandiant thing, while interesting, doesn't, we always get the headline, Google to acquire Mandiant, $4.5 billion deal, but we don't really mention, and that may go through in a year after all the regulators get a hold of it. And Cory Doctorow was very quick to point out some very good news, I think, on Sunday on TWiT, that with Lena Khan running the SEC or the FTC and Tim Wu in the White House as an advisor, we've got some very strong antitrust proponents with the ear of the president and with the administration. And this may, in fact, not be a very good time to make big deals. This would be the second largest deal in history for Alphabet. I'm trying to think of what the largest would be. Was it Android, maybe? $5.4 billion. Mandiant is a cybersecurity company. They They had FireEye. They bought FireEye, so for a while they were called FireEye, but Mandiant FireEye, or now just Mandiant. They publish reports about. We often quote their reports about cyber campaigns. They are often the ones that identify nation states as involved. And in fact, the U.S. intelligence agencies, apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal, rely on insights provided by Mandiant.
Oh, you want to know the biggest acquisition?
Yeah.
Motorola Mobility for $12.5 billion.
Wow. How much was YouTube? It was like $1.3 billion or something.
1.65.
Yeah, it was nothing. 5.4 billion. Why would Google want a cybersecurity company, I guess is the question.
They need something to differentiate their cloud products. It gives them, and if you think about it, Microsoft has a huge cybersecurity business. They have their whole forensic.
Well, and Google has Project Zero and, Tavis Ormandy, and they have a very good security group. But
they may just be looking at it as the next big thing you need to have to be a cloud
provider.
A service, an infrastructure provider even.
Yeah.
I don't know. Microsoft was trying to buy it, weren't they?
Yeah. Wall Street Journal talked to a cybersecurity analyst at the bank Needham Group, Alex Henderson, who said it's not a great fit, in my opinion. The acquisition will test the degree to which Google can use Mandiant's consulting services, that's their business, by the way, to sell automated cybersecurity tools tailored to cloud-only environments. He said the deal will put Google into more direct competition with Microsoft, as you said, Stacey. Annual revenue for Microsoft security business, $15 billion. This is big business.
Oh.
But does Google want to become a security consultant? That's because that's the business.
I think it's become so much more relevant, and what we're seeing happen, especially with the digital transformation, is that a lot of companies are trying to go get all of their infrastructure and tech expertise in just a few places.
Yeah.
So if you have that consultancy and can offer it, then you can just go all in on Google, right? You don't have to.
The journal says Mandiant is often called by a company once they realize they've been hacked to mop up and figure out why and how not to do it again.
Behind every single hack is a phone call to Mandiant. I'm not kidding. Anytime you see like Colonial Pipeline, any of these, they call me. No, it's a very well-known name.
So that's the question. Does Google want to have this as a business and they charge, and you call Google Mandiant and they come in, or do they want to offer this as value add to their existing cloud business?
I assume they'll start just by owning it and offering it.
Yeah.
And then they'll look for ways to integrate it. But if they're smart, they'll leave it enough alone for a while and then start to bring what they can in-house additive to their own stuff, is my guess.
Stacey, you're inspiring a question. Isn't this like a transitional point as what IBM went through? Right. Well, we make computers, and then they became a consulting company. And we offer hosting, but we need to offer a whole set of services. And, I wouldn't, does Google at some point buy a top 7 accounting firm, and they become a business consultant?
It seems like it's on the order of that, right?
Yeah.
It's buying that kind of capability. Yeah.
You're right. I'm trying to think of any other business that Google has that is, because everything else is pretty much automated, even all their ad stuff. The only that would be the only place I'm not familiar enough with their business.
You don't bring in Google consultants to help set up your company network or to move you to the cloud.
But maybe you do.
Maybe that's the new thing.
Maybe that's the way they can grow.
Maybe
versus Amazon.
Or maybe they see it as something they can productize.
Yeah.
Maybe in 2 years they'll be like, all right, we've learned everything we can from these consultants, and now we've turned it into an AI service.
Do you think that part of this comes from the fact that Google's looking at the fact that they're a weak third in cloud? It's Amazon, it's Microsoft, and then everybody else.
Yes.
And Microsoft is a consulting company too, isn't it?
Yeah. 15 billion.
Call Microsoft
yeah.
Right.
50 billion security consulting alone.
Google's got to come, and Amazon is not, So the only way Google's going to keep up, I think, is by adding those kind of product lines.
Yeah. It's it's what they need to do if they're serious about being in the cloud. They need to do something, right? That makes sense.
Well, the cloud is the new mainframe, right?
Yeah.
If you take the IBM example, then that's where you end up going.
1,000 people in the cloud business, just their souls just curdled.
I know, exactly. Oh, exactly. I love it. That's what I love the heresy of it.
I don't know enough. Maybe somebody in our chat room or on Discord is more familiar with cloud providers and so forth. But what does Amazon offer along these lines? Does Amazon have a security consultancy? What do they do?
They don't have a security consultancy. To my knowledge, I mean, they have over 200 something odd cloud products. So there may be like a secret one that I'm not aware of. They have started in the IoT side to get the more sophisticated, because like Amazon has historically been seen as like more basic infrastructure or infrastructure for startups and such. Microsoft, and that's why they're such a big player in the cloud, is because the established big companies go to Microsoft, right? So to get some of that business over as part of like the big companies doing digital transformations, Amazon has started to add some consulting around like data analysis and predictive maintenance and optimizing your cloud infrastructure for some of this, but they don't have anything, to my knowledge, on the security side.
No, in fact, I'm looking at a list of Amazon security tools for AWS, and almost all of them are completely automated. They're just It's just software running in the background, that will tell you Amazon Inspector, a security assessment service for applications deployed on EC2. AWS Shield, fully managed distributed denial of service protection. DDoS protection service. I think we actually use Shield, the web application firewall, all that stuff. This is all software. So they mustn't. That's interesting. And yet they're number one. So maybe you don't need that.
Yeah, but they're not it's not mutually exclusive to put your infrastructure on Amazon and then use Microsoft security stuff.
Right.
So that's another thought process. Google is not doing a bang up job being this awesome cloud service provider. It's number 3, right? Distant number 3. What if it can then come in and say, I'm going to offer a security service that competes more with Microsoft, but you could be an Amazon customer, and maybe I'll make it more googly, feeling more developer friendly than maybe a Microsoft option.
Right before this story broke, Mandiant actually put out a report saying that the prolific Chinese hacking group APT41 had compromised multiple U.S. state government networks. This is according to Mandiant. The group conducted a months-long campaign during which it targeted and successfully breached at least 6 U.S. state networks, all of which have been notified by Mandiant, but they did not publish which states. It's interesting. You want to know how the hack happened? There is a software application offered, I think, by the Ag Department, widely used in many states, called USA Herds. It's an animal health management tool, and it used Log4Shell. Log4j, rather. So it was vulnerable to Log4Shell, according to Mandiant, between May 2021 and February of last month of this year. APT41 used vulnerable internet-facing web applications to gain a foothold into state networks, including exploiting a 0-day in USA Herds and the Log4j logging library. Mandiant said APT41 began exploiting Log4Shell within hours of the vulnerability being announced in December of last year. So there you go. As soon as there's disclosure, you are vulnerable. Led to the compromise of 2 U.S. state government networks and other targets in the insurance and telecoms industries. After gaining that foothold on the network, APT41 went on to perform extensive credential collection, which I guess got them into the other networks. In one instance, they used a SQL injection vulnerability in a proprietary web app. Wow. So this is nation-state hackers. This is China. I'm sure Russia's doing the same thing. But one of the things Mandiant said is, while everybody's looking over at Russia, Don't forget, there are other major threat actors continuing operations as usual. Yikes.
So I'll stay one more second. Just one more second. I'm trying to think. As a brand, who would you more likely call for consulting if they had the arms? Google or Amazon?
Ooh, those are really terrible options.
Yeah,
Google?
really.
I trust
Google.
Google.
You might call IBM or HP or
I would call
honestly.
Microsoft.
Dell.
Yeah,
But-
Microsoft. Yeah.
That I think is the essence of this. I think that's you inspired it, Stacey and Leo. But I think that's they may see that it's the missing piece they have to have.
Who are you going to call?
Oh.
Google.
All right, thanks.
Stacey on IoT story.
Ooh.
Researchers find potentially vulnerable smart home devices. Last we're talking about vulnerabilities. Tell us about it, Ms. Higginbotham. Stacey-licious.
Oh, okay. Like, where is this Stacey-licious coming
I was just
from?
trying to figure
Yeah,
out
where's that?
if Stacey were a nickname for a longer name.
It's a nickname for Anastasia.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Is it? Is that your name?
No,
Oh.
my name is Stacey. I was born
my hopes up.
smack in the Stacey
Anastasia. I'm going to call you that from now on. Is
Yes, I
that,
like that.
Stacey? Is the nickname for Anastasia? That's interesting.
Anastasia Higginbotham is
or
a
Eustacia.
What a
fluence
name! That's
of
got to be your
syllables.
novel
That's
name.
a lot of syllables.
That's your
I like
novelist
that.
name, Anastasia
Yeah.
Higginbotham. She
Oh.
writes murder
Anastasia
mysteries.
W. Higginbotham.
Oh yes, I do
Yes.
enjoy those murder mysteries by Anastasia W. Higginbotham.
I shall keep that in the back burner for when I do my crime series.
Are you going to do one? I hope you do. By the way, speaking of which, Stacey does do the Stacey's Book Club in our Discord, and the next book is Cory Doctorow's Unauthorized Bread. And I told Cory he was very thrilled that you're going to do that. So that's neat. That's neat. And John's reading it right now. Says it's great.
Yeah,
It's about a toaster.
we don't
it's about
pick bad books.
toaster DRM, baby.
Yes.
Unauthorized
Yes,
bread.
indeed.
That'll be a Club TWiT event coming up. When? Soon? Yes.
It's the 24th,
Oh,
actually.
just a couple of weeks.
And I will tell you the time as I pull my calendar up. Oh, it is 9 a.m.
9 a.m. So, just so's you knows, Paul Thurrott will be doing a fireside chat on March 31st. We got Stacey's Book Club, the Untitled Linux Club, Linux show. These are all things that happen inside the club. It's an amazing club. It's really taken off thanks to Ant. I should have mentioned Ant's not here because it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Ant.
Happy
And
birthday, Ann.
we don't know how old he is.
We don't know.
We want to know, but we don't.
He told us all to do 5 squats before breakfast. No, before lunch.
5 I could do. 5 I could
Well,
do.
yeah,
Anyway.
you just got to start.
Yeah, just got to start somewhere. Thank you, Ant, for doing all of these great events and for doing the book club and everything. And if you are not a member of Club TWiT, that isn't even the main. That's not even the main show. The main deal is ad-free versions of all of our shows. We thought the Discord will just be, we'll throw something in for fun. It's turned out to be a fabulous place to talk about everything, not just the shows, but all sorts of topics that geeks are interested in. And the list goes on and on. Even Sport Ball. If you're not a member, $7 a month gets you those ad-free shows, access to the Discord, the TWiT Plus feed, all the extra shows we do inside the club are on that feed. Just go to twit.tv/clubtwit. Please join Club TWiT. It really helps keep the lights on here at TWiT Central. TWiT Party Central. So, Patrick Delahanty is going to be also doing a fireside chat. He is our engineer. If you want to know how all this stuff runs, he's the guy who does that. That's March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. March 24th for the book club. March 31st for Paul Thurrott's AMA. So it's a very busy March in Club TWiT. How exciting. Let's take a little break,
Okay.
and we'll have more. Wait a minute. Were we starting to talk about something before that? Yes.
It's like,
potentially.
do you want to talk about my
Stacey,
story?
Forget that article. Forget that
You
article.
asked her to summarize it. and we
Somehow
never even
Anastasia
started.
Higginbotham got me off on a tangent. So what?
That's what my alter ego does.
Yes.
Okay. 3 years ago, a bunch of researchers launched something called IoT Inspector. And if you downloaded it,
We talked about that when it came out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did. And if you downloaded it, it tracked like the behavior of smart devices in your home. And about 5,000 people downloaded it. They got about a huge database, about 50,000 devices behaving in the wild.
So this is
And
the upshot of that. We talked about getting it and using it. Now we know what the results are. And what are the results?
Well, we know. So, I mean, they're using this pool of data for other research. But this particular research, they looked at it and they said, oh, holy cow, a lot of these devices, or some of these devices, are behaving in ways that devices that use older, vulnerable versions of OpenSSL are behaving. So they can't say that these 32 Amazon devices, these 22 Samsung devices, and the list goes on, are actually using vulnerable versions of OpenSSL because they don't actually know what versions they're using. This isn't information that's available, but they do behave like vulnerable versions. And some of these vulnerabilities, they're allow for remote code execution. And the idea here is they didn't do this to be like, gotcha. They did it because they're trying to figure out how we make IoT devices transparent and secure in the way that, we try to make web browsing transparent and secure using public key encryption.
Yes.
So, or public key infrastructure. Sorry.
Does it?
So, yeah,
isn't it going to require though hardware manufacturers to step up as much as anything
So
else?
hardware manufacturers are already stepping up. They're doing, like, most of these companies, not all, but most of them are starting with like design, secure by design. They're also starting programs for like defense in depth and all the good buzzwords. But what happens is maybe they don't update everything.
Right.
Maybe they're just not on top of something, and nobody knows. The other thing is, like, we have certificate authorities on the web. I didn't realize this, but some companies issue their own IoT device certificates. They don't even have it.
Oh, self-signed. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. So everything's self-signed. So this is basically just them saying, like, look, this is an immature ecosystem. We need to make it more secure. Let's open up conversations on how we can do this.
This chart is interesting. You have this in your blog post at Stacey on IoT. The number of days that companies ran outdated versions of OpenSSL after, I guess it was Heartbleed. Was it after the Heartbleed vulnerability? There's whatever the SSL vulnerability was, and some waited a long time. Look, LG. Look here, LG between 1,000 and 2,000 days. Who was the fastest? Samsung was pretty quick. Synology was pretty quick. Glad to hear that. That's what I use. QNAP, another network attached storage, was probably the quickest. Amazon patched a lot of stuff, but not all the stuff.
And some of this could be indications of like little devices they sold like a few of and then discontinued. So they're just not thinking about it. A lot of these are smart TVs. If you look at these devices, a lot of them look like media storage or smart TVs. And those are notorious for being kind of is what I'll go with.
The biggest range, and maybe it's a measure of how many devices they offer, is Google, which patched some of its devices within just a few days and took, several years to patch the rest of them. How many?
Just 2. Google only has 2 devices that were behaving weirdly.
What? Okay, so explain this graph.
So they're looking, it's a complicated, I was like,
There's
people did not. The devices, the number of devices that are affected are in parentheses.
Oh, there they are, 2. I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Amazon had, to give you some sense, 32 devices that were affected. This brand, that's device lines, I guess we should say. Samsung 22 device lines. So,
yes.
Wow.
So, and they're going to continue using this pool of data for other research. So, I note in there, if you want to, you can. It's not something you should run all the time because it does kind of slow down your internet speeds because it's using deep packet inspection. But running it occasionally and having it
really valuable. Yeah. Thanks to those of you who did that, so that we can see some of this information. There is an attack on Amazon's Echo devices. It's a little bit. I was thinking about how could this?
Yeah, this is
okay. But wait a minute. So the way it works is you have to be within range of the Echo so that you can shout, pair with my phone.
What's the worst thing that can happen to an Echo?
Well, once my phone is paired to your device, then I have control of the device.
To do what? To give you the wrong weather?
To tell it. Well, no, to tell you to unlock the doors or something. This is a stupid attack.
Well, okay, I thought it was. Then I thought about it. You know who should worry about this? People in apartments with thin walls.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. This is something for people in apartments or possibly hotel rooms, maybe, because they are putting Amazon Echoes in hotel rooms. Yeah. So if you had someone.
So you need to be at voice range initially for the initial attack and then Bluetooth range the rest of the time. So, but if you had a thin wall and you could shout, let's experiment with your neighbor, shout, Echo, what's the weather going to be like? And if it responds, then you know that he is vulnerable. And then if you have an Echo, so are you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, eh.
Or if you hear endless fart jokes, then you know.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's more fun. Yeah, I like that.
And that the hacker is a teenage boy.
Yes.
Or a 5-year-old child.
Or the host
or a Howard Stern fan.
Of a podcast called This Week in Google.
There you go.
All right, now I'll do the ad.
I don't even know what tangent we went off to while we went off to it. I can't remember.
It started with it started with Stacey-licious, and then Anastasia, and then it went down, and then it was the Stacey's Book Club, and then I did an ad for the club TWiT. And then anyway, it's just, that's me.
What is your middle initial,
Squirrel.
Stacey?
Squirrel? L. Squirrel. My middle name is Lynn.
Anastasia L. Higginbotham. Perfect name.
I thought W was better.
W is pretty good because you want more syllables.
W is a great one.
More syllables.
Yeah.
More syllables.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, do your ad.
Lisa came very close to sending you our Wordle score from last night. But I said, no, Jeff would hit the roof.
Don't do it to me. Lisa, what did I do to you, Lisa? Gee.
She said, we should send this to Jeff. All right. Jeff Jarvis is here from CUNY and Buzz Machine. And have you been on MSNBC lately?
No, I don't know what I said. They haven't had me on in ages.
Yeah, it's the war,
Well, no, I've been on Pandemic.
Yeah, used to be on all
here.
The time.
I am, like every white male on the internet, I am an epidemiologist. So
yeah,
have me on.
You have opinions.
Let me mansplain COVID to you, ladies.
I'm now an expert in flyover zones and diplomacy too. Yeah.
Also, Stacey Higginbotham, who is a very legitimate expert in all things chip.
Yes, she is.
Were you impressed? Did you follow at all the Apple announcement yesterday? I was.
I followed some of it. I had to get on a plane.
I was just blown away.
I was.
No, please wait. Can the captain hold off? They haven't announced the phone yet.
I'm hearing something about an interconnect. Secret feature. I don't know how secret it was, but it's true. I had not read about it. That was in the Apple processors, the Apple Silicon processors, that allowed them to do a high-speed interconnect with other chips. Now, up to other dies. Up to now, there's only been one die in all the Apple Silicon devices. But now with these new Apple Studio devices, there are 2 die on the Ultra, anyway. And the interconnect is apparently very, very fast. I can't remember the numbers they gave, but it was something several hundred gigabytes. No, terabytes. It was 2.5 terabytes a second of data over these interconnects, which is incredibly fast. Yeah. And at this point, it feels like in chip design, Apple's starting to leave everybody in the dust.
Yeah. I mean, memory bandwidth was our big issue. And Apple's just like, they're like, let's buy some chip firms. Let's hire some people. And then 2 years later, they're like, bam, we have changed everything. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
Go Apple. God.
Yeah. It is. I mean, in a way, I'd say go Apple because we can buy Apple products, but I'd love to see Intel and AMD and NVIDIA and others say, okay, we'll do that too. But
well, they have been trying to do it.
Right.
I mean, they really have. It's
Right.
not like they weren't solving for this problem. It's just that Apple
solve better.
has done a really good job. And, they also do a really good job marketing. I mean, nobody tunes into NVIDIA's.
No, I do. We
Well,
do. Actually, we covered it last year anyway, and I probably covered it again this year. It's next month, I think. But you're right. Doesn't get the attention that Apple
doesn't get the love and the cool graphics. I mean, NVIDIA's last thing was cool. You know why? Because they did it all in VR or AR or Magic.
In fact, we found out that even
after the fact,
even their CEO was imaginary.
I love it.
For a couple of minutes, not for the whole talk. No, we followed that. I thought that was very interesting. I'm really excited about NVIDIA, what they're doing with AI and cars as well as gaming. They really have found a way to use these GPUs in very exciting ways.
I wanted to put them on the cover of Fortune in 2015. But they said, no, it's too nerdy. But 2017, they did it.
Hey, here's some good news, and I wouldn't call this greenwashing at all. Tesla's just announced, remember that Elon Musk announced that SpaceX was going to send Starlink terminals to Ukraine. Now Tesla has announced they're sending power walls to Ukraine and expanding the supercharger network for Teslas. And
plug in your tank.
Yeah, and giving up to 3 months of pay to employees going back to work. So I don't know what that has to do with Ukraine. Power walls, you may mock that. I did. But in a way, if you're worried about inconsistencies in power generation, having a big old battery in your house is, possibly valuable.
If you have some way to charge it, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, did we do the ad?
No.
I keep running off.
I thought I was old and addled too, and it passed by, and I didn't notice. At least you had the courage to ask.
I'm running. I'm like, okay, go get a snack.
Go get a snack,
and then
Stacey.
I'm like, they're like talking about Elon Musk. I'm like, okay,
no, just throwing some in. I like to throw in little tidbits here and there because then people.
I thought I zoned out on Twitter so effectively.
It's all a strategy to keep people from skipping the ads. If you don't know where the ad began, where the ad ends.
And you just ruined it, Stacey. You just ruined the illusion.
You're just going to keep it going because you might miss something good like that. You see?
Yeah, and my quest for snacks, I'm like, wait, no, come back.
So there's a bunch of people who are coming back from their snack break. And guess what? It's time for the ad. Our show today brought to you by Code Academy. Woo! Love Code Academy. You want to change your career? There's never been a better time to be a coder. I'm a hobbyist, but I think it's so great. It's such a fun thing to do, to write code. And maybe you've thought, I'd like to know more about this. I talk to people all the time saying, boy, I think I might like coding. Well, here's how you find out. Learn to code on your own terms with Code Academy. You won't be alone. Over 50 million people already know that Code Academy is the best way to learn to code because Code Academy not only teaches you job-ready coding skills, it also, this is really important, helps you build unique projects for your portfolio, earn certificates you could put on your LinkedIn page, even prep for technical interviews. Everything you need to get a job doing something you love, coding. Oh man, it's so cool. One of the things I love about Code Academy, and by the way, I just do their classes for fun. But I took some Python classes there, for instance. I keep trying to get better at Python. Is you're coding from the very first day. The interface with Code Academy, you start typing some code, you press submit or run, I guess, and then it tells you, nope, that's not it. Here's what you need to work on. So you're actually getting instant feedback right from day one. You can learn at your own pace. There's no hurry. Perfect for me because I'm kind of, I'm a casual coder. But if you're in a hurry to get a job and qualify for in-demand jobs, you can do it as fast as you want, as fast as you need. You could choose what to learn from building basic websites to artificial intelligence, everything in between. And it doesn't matter if you've never done any coding before. you'll be writing real working code in minutes. And if you're a pro, you could start at a level that's appropriate to you and get even better at it. Look at the list of languages. Go to codecademy.com, just see. But of course, Python. And if you want to be a full stack coder, you'll need HTML, CSS. You probably need SQL, JavaScript. Those are the most popular right now, but there's a lot of languages there. If you're not sure where to begin, well, don't worry. In fact, Lisa and I did this for fun. There's a programming personality quiz on the site that you can take. It's not asking you coding questions or about, math ability. It's asking what you like, what you're interested in, how you think, and it will then tell you what track would be the best tailored career advice and which courses you should take based on your interests and your strengths. And it was exactly right on, I have to tell you, for both me and Lisa. It said, you need to do a computer science track. Lisa, you need to do statistics. It suggested I do, learn Python. It suggested Lisa learn R, which is a statistics language. It was really right on. It was very interesting. Get instant feedback. Your code will be tested as soon as you submit it. You always know if you're on the right track. But don't worry, there's lots of help there as well. You're not on your own by any means. It's a completely interactive platform, but you learn by doing. And build that portfolio. Very important. Get that certificate of completion. You will be much more marketable to future employers. And then you can land your dream job in web development or programming or computer science or data science and tons more. If you want to learn a new skill to build websites, to troubleshoot tech issues, to transition into a new career, this is where you go. Codecademy.com. Join over 50 million people learning to code with Codecademy to see where coding can take you. Get 15% off your Codecademy Pro membership when you go to codecademy.com. Use a promo code TWIG. That's TWIG is the promo code. CODECADEMY. Codecademy.com. 15% off Codecademy Pro is a great deal. The best way to learn to code. Codecademy.com. The promo code TWING. Okay, we're back with Jeffrey Jarvis, Anastasia Higginbotham. All fully, you're fully fed? You're not going to pass out?
Sort of fed, but yes. I was shoving, did you see me shoving my crackers in my mouth?
No. I give you complete privacy.
Privacy.
While you're eating like a pig. John sees it all, but not I.
There's no trough, y'all. It's just, rapid fire crunching. I try to mute too.
If you want, I could take more time on those ads and give you a little more time. I don't want you to rush. I don't want you to rush.
Make a nice grilled cheese sandwich and.
Yeah, I'm like, really, how much time do we have? Because, most food requires a little bit more time.
Yeah, crackers. I'm disappointed. I was hoping waffles at least.
The waffles take 6 minutes to toast.
You should have a toaster in your office.
Cacio e pepe only takes 7 minutes. So, hey.
Oh, well, I could be eating. But then, the pasta would be super messy.
Yeah.
Not to mention the slurping.
It's just ASMR right there.
Hey, remember
pay
when
good money for that?
Stacey slurps. It's a new show on the TWiT network. Amazon. Remember when
Slurpee Higginbotham? Yeah.
Slurpee Higginbotham.
Slurpee.
Anastasia Slurpee Higginbotham. A group of remember the testimony. All the CEOs came to talk to the House committee about data and all of that stuff. The Judiciary Committee, Jerry Nadler,
yeah, stupid questions.
David Cicilline. Yeah, you remember that? Well, a letter comes from the committee to the Department of Justice today, urging it. We urge you to open an investigation into Amazon and its executives for criminal obstruction of Congress.
What could this be?
The group contends Amazon is engaged in a pattern and practice of misleading conduct, lying to Congress, in response to our questions about its private label practices and its collection of third-party seller data.
Why don't you bring in Walmart and Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company and ask them about the same thing?
Amazon has not only enshrined this process, but it's part of their business strategy is to harvest this data and take advantage of it. So, yeah.
As it was for every retailer before. From Macy's to Walmart to... I know they got more data, but Macy's has data too online now, and Walmart. So it's a practice of retailing since time immemorial.
You wouldn't have all those generic brands on the grocery shelf if they didn't know that you wanted to buy those products. Right? Lawmakers have zeroed in, claiming Amazon made false and misleading statements to the House committee about its practices. I remember Jeff Bezos saying things like, well, that would be illegal if they did that. I don't think they did that. Let me check. Apparently, after the fact, they refused to turn over evidence that would either corroborate its claims or correct the record. So if you're going to assert, no, we tell them you can't do that, and they didn't do that, and if they did it against orders, but you need to prove that. According to the letter, quote, Amazon appears to have done so to conceal the truth about its use of third-party sellers' data to advantage its private label business and its preferencing of private label products and search results, which were the subject of the committee's investigation. Signed by Jerry Nadler, David Cicilline, Ken Buck, Matt Gaetz, and Pramila Jayapal. There's some interesting bedfellows.
If you're agreeing with Matt Gaetz, what does that tell you? Just think for a second. What does that say?
So they sent it to the DOJ. Now it's up to Merrick Garland and the department to decide whether to prosecute or not and who to prosecute and all that stuff. That is no guarantee of prosecution, we should point out.
Right.
But
they're just saying, we're Congress. You lied to us.
You lied to us. Yeah. I don't think it's all that clear that they were lied to.
I think this is basically their effort to say, look, we asked this, we're serious, we want to know, and you can't just I cannot say that word, obfuscate.
Obfuscate.
Anymore.
Lawmakers pointed to, quote, credible investigative reporting, thanks journalists, from Reuters, The Markup, and the Wall Street Journal that directly contradicts testimony from Bezos and other executives. So that's regardless of that, there is that fundamental question: what did Amazon do that's so very different from what grocery stores have been doing for the last century? Grocery stores knows exactly how much tuna fish you buy, and if they think it's worth it for them to have a can of generic tuna fish to put on the shelf next to the chicken of the sea, they're going to do that. You could
argue that because Amazon, you could also argue that some grocery stores now have this, but Amazon sells, 50% of e-commerce here in the U.S.?
Right.
Which then means that you don't have other alternatives to bring your goods to market, so you have to use them.
Here's the better argument for you, Stacey, I think, on your side of this question, is playing devil's advocate, trying to be Leo for a minute, is if I search for Pellegrino and you do a really good job of serving me Amabubbles, then it's at that point that it could be an unfair use of the data about you as an individual.
In Brad Stone's book, Amazon Unbound, which is very good, by the way, the successor to the Everything Store, the first book he wrote about Amazon, he talks about this specific issue and about, at least for some of the time, Amazon's very clear instruction. They said, interestingly, we'll get in trouble if you share data between the private, our stores and
church and
state. And they knew that was a potential problem, that there were some executives who wanted to do it, who thought it'd be just fine, but they had decided in this book, and I wish I had the book with me, I'd look up the passage, but they decided according to Brad Stone, we better not do that. But there were executives who were cowboys who said, no, this is too valuable, we got to do this. So there was a debate over it anyway. Interesting that they saw that as potentially problematic, They did not choose
they
the
could've-
Jeff Jarvis defense.
They could have thrown those guys under the bus with Congress, and then Congress wouldn't have an excuse for, calling for the Justice Department to
Right.
intervene. But Amazon's like, no.
I think Jeff tried to. I mean, essentially he said, well, if we did, that would be wrong. We don't do that.
Yeah, but then you do actually, in that case, you do have to follow up. I mean,
You have to find somebody and take
We
the fall.
could do that, but that would be wrong.
That would be wrong.
Yeah.
That would be wrong. I guess, is it more harmful to consumers that Amazon does it than the ANP did it?
Yes, because
except for-
Amazon is. Oh, go ahead.
Well, one of the issues I think for Congress
No,
is that
prosecution
Amazon
first, then defense.
Amazon recommends what when you search for a product.
That's the key.
It says Amazon Essentials, and then it also says Amazon's best suggestion, and it's never been clear how you qualify for that.
So there's that. So yes, the Amazon recommends is a huge problem. The other problem is that a lot of companies can't go to market without Amazon, and Amazon actually has programs to pull these kinds of products in, and then it kind of scours their data and then is like, oh, this is interesting, let's make one. So there's many levels of what I think most normal people would recognize as unethical,
Potential
or
problems. Yeah. Well, it's
potentially
not
problematic.
unethical, or look at what is Congress looking for? Harms to consumers, right? Or harms to competitors.
So Lena Khan, as we've talked about, is really shifting the conversation from harms to consumers, which no one can argue Amazon does because consumers can buy so much more stuff, much more cheaply.
Yeah.
To harms to society, harms to labor, harms to competitors in the market, harms to startup and innovation. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago with the FTC putting out their request for, it's not a request for proposal. What is it? They did a memorandum that was basically like, should we look into all of this?
Right.
And that's the crux of this, because Amazon built their entire parcel of unethical behaviors around, we're fine because we're making cheaper things for consumers.
Yeah, I mean, from the consumer's point of view, I just did a search for dish soap. One of the things I always liked about Amazon, it will show me a variety of products and something that you can find in the stores, but it's hard, the cost per ounce, right?
Well, let's talk about pricing, because Amazon doesn't show me and you the same pricing, and that pricing changes several times a day.
Yeah.
And that's another issue where as companies like Amazon and Walmart's doing this too. I mean, it's not, that particular issue is not only Amazon's issue. We're seeing a lot less transparency around pricing that is really going to hurt consumers in the long run.
Well, and that'll bite them if it turns out that there's a bias in that pricing.
Well, it may not, because they've gotten so big, there's not like a lot of opportunities for me to find alternatives. And that's what's really interesting, because they've squeezed out a lot of those alternatives at the moment. And if I were an alternative and I had something cheaper than Amazon and a way to do it, I'd probably have to go through Amazon to sell it to the wider market.
Well, but I'm also saying, Stacey, that if once you decide to do variable pricing, if you're not careful, if you end up charging poor Black people more than poor Latino people,
I don't think
rural people more than whatever, then you better be careful about the algorithm.
So, Stacey, you said
they don't care about that, though.
You said that at any given time, different people see different prices. Is that the case, or just that the pricing varies, but we all see the same thing at any given time? I think it's more that.
No, it's the price can vary both. It can vary across geographic regions.
Well, that might make sense. That would make sense. Yeah. But if it's offering Stacey a deal that it's not offering me,
that's what I'm saying.
That would be you're
an old fart.
Yeah, that'd be really wrong.
So that happens, though.
Okay,
that does happen. Did you not? The New York Times did a story actually documenting this not too long ago, like a week ago. Differential pricing is probably what you should Google. Let's see.
Here's a hand soap, because I know that Amazon sells its own brand of liquid hand soap. The Amazon choice is actually from a competitor's soft soap right next to theirs, Solimo, which is half the price. So you might say, well, that may be Amazon's choice, but I'm going to buy Amazon's brand. They also have a bestseller indicator.
Okay, so let's wait a second. Let's all
let me
search for the
do
same
this.
thing.
Let me go to liquid hand soap.
Search for liquid hand soap.
I just did. I get different results.
So my first result was soft soap moisturizing hand liquid, $7.74 for a 6-pack.
Mine is Dove Nourishing Foaming Hand Wash for
What the hell?
$14.88.
I don't see Dove on here at all.
Wait, is yours?
Well,
Li-
sponsored.
Mine's
That's
very
sponsored.
too.
Oh, okay. No, I go down.
Show me your screen again, Leo.
Liquid hand soap. Here we go. No
Okay, so
sponsored
you're
results.
right under the results.
Yep.
So mine is my first result is sponsored. It's Evolved by Nature liquid hand soap refill. Then it's the second
$23.99?
one,
How much, Stacey?
$23.99.
It's okay. I get that too. That's sponsored.
And my Amazon, next one is featured from our brands, which is not sponsored, but also feels a little weird.
Whose is that?
And that's Amazon brands. So Solimio,
How much is your Solimo?
$6.58.
For?
I get
A 2-pack of 32 fluid ounce.
It's funny. I see a 2-pack of 56 ounce. They must think my hands are dirtier than yours.
So
I get
I'm
the
being
Amazon
charged 10
Choice.
cents a fluid ounce.
Yes, as
So,
am
Leo,
I.
I get the same soft soap you have under Amazon's Choice.
Yes.
That I get
me too.
highly rated. I
For
get the Dove.
$14.88.
Yes.
$14.88.
Yeah. So
6-pack of 6.
I mean, this obviously is so anecdotal. It's not useful, but
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, it's also interesting. How do you say what's the prime position here, except for what's on top? What's on top is aromatherapeutic hand care products. It means they don't know.
Yeah, it's a whole
crap about me.
brand.
I hate aromatherapy. I hate it.
Well, yeah, and that's an advertisement, and I'm for some reason not getting it. Maybe because I have an ad blocker running. I don't know.
But then you have
So-
then sponsored results. It says results, and on the far right it says sponsored. That's the Dove and the Evolved. Then Amazon's Choice, and then highly rated, and then more results.
I don't even have highly
what's
rated.
the prime position in all
The
that?
top line is obviously the prime position, right?
Well, I don't
even
so
have
I
highly
hate,
rated.
No, that's all sold. That's sponsored. That's why Amazon
No, this
now
is
has
not
a bigger
sold, is it?
advertising business
Yes.
than newspapers.
So mine. How do I know if it's sold? Wouldn't it? Is there no indicator that it's sold?
Oh, you're interesting.
mine it
You
is.
don't. So
You don't
mine
have
I
that. On
get
mine
a
it
whole.
is.
No, that
It says
must be
sponsored
my ad
on the
blocker.
far right.
Yeah, that's my ad blocker.
Yeah, that
I
must
guess.
be your.
Oh,
Because
Sort
my
by
results.
featured. I can also sort by price. Maybe I wouldn't have the same issues if I searched by price. High to low, low to high, average customer review. Actually, that's often how I will search for this kind of thing.
yeah. I get the soft soap 1083. What was yours? What was your lowest?
Low price,
Yeah,
soft soap, aloe vera, 904.
7.5 ounces.
Yeah.
Okay. Price difference. Mine is 1083.
What? Mine has a line through 1083. And it shows me 904. For some reason, I do see the 1083, but it's crossed out. Maybe because I'm a special person.
Mine says only one left in stock. Let's fight for it, Leo.
Mine says I could buy 2 and save 2%. Wait a minute. That's the one I know is a lie. Only one left in stock when you see stuff like that. That I know
Yeah.
is made up. Let me see if I see it. No, that doesn't say anything about that. But wait a minute.
Darn
Is
you,
this
Mr.
no?
Laporte.
See, this ships from Herb. Herb's Pro. That's the other thing is this is a third party. This is not an Amazon. You can't tell that from the front page.
Well, because
You
here's
can
your ad
look for
blocker.
Prime.
It didn't recognize it's an ad.
Well, but if it's sold by Amazon, is it always Prime?
No, not everything is Prime. I mean,
Okay.
they've got some of this stuff, but
And could you buy? No, see, this is ships from Amazon, but
here's-
sold by Health and Wellness, and it is Prime. So you
and
can't,
that's actually bought from someplace else. That's not even.
right.
But so this is one of the I don't shop for things as much on Amazon. I shop very little on Amazon anymore because I can't. Because it's like going into like the dollar store or like TJ Maxx or it really is. It's cluttered. It's confusing. I'm not feeling like I'm getting not even the best deal, just a fair deal on stuff.
I think
It's so
this
hard
is illegal
to
to
parse.
say in Seattle. I think the Amazon police are going to come and get you, Stacey.
You know, if you go to the Amazon front page, though, you might be hard-pressed to figure out what exactly their business is. I'm being offered their gaming service, Luna, the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and some various sundries, including some headphones, some books from
And
Kindle.
Keep shopping for hand soap. I'm going to get so much hand soap.
Oh, no. Stop.
Thanks
stop.
to you.
Well, here's a toilet seat. I don't know. I don't know why.
Wow.
I don't know why that.
And a stethoscope.
Oh, they know I want an office chair or a desk. And then this is the new thing, by the way. These shop live streams, have you ever watched these?
No.
Well, my friend used to do them she would do them for Chinese goods. These are great. Oh, he's signing. How cool is that?
Yeah, look at that set though. Wow, and he's got your little LED lights on the background.
Those are not brand name LED lights in the background right there. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Those are knockoff LED lights.
Do you think a lot of people watch these? Sounds like you do.
It's a big trend. It's a huge shopping trend. So
187
Amazon's doing
people
it.
watching.
Look how many shopping channels we have on TV. After all these years at Capodimonte, there's like 5 channels on my cable.
What if I were going to do an Amazon live shoppable live stream? What should I sell? Because it's got to be something the people who would watch me. Thermomix, yeah.
Yeah.
Substack has an RSS reader. You miss Google Reader? Today, Substack, here's Hamish McKenzie saying we're launching an app for Substack. Using it makes me feel like a reader again. It's where I read my favorite writers at their best. I love it.
Good news, bad news. It's only an app, not web, and only Apple, not Android.
Who gets, maybe the bigger question is who gets on that app?
Their stuff is there, so you can read it, but you can add, they say you can add any RSS feed.
Oh, by going to reader.substack.com.
But you have to use the app.
But you have to use the app, but you can add it online. Okay, so it is open in that sense. Although they figure
harvesting as much data as they can 'cause it's through an app instead of on the web.
True.
I asked Dave Weiner what he thought of it, and he said kind of like, it's an app. I don't really use that. And then everybody was asking Dave. He said, why is everybody asking me this? Because you're RSS, Dave. You're the man. We depend upon you. So he had some thoughts. I'm trying to find what it was then.
Silenced no more. The second Washington state, your state, is now the second state in the union to pass the Silenced No More Act. Just take a guess. What does that do? Silenced no more.
I cheated.
I don't know.
Thank you for being honest, Jeff. It bans employers in the state, and California's the other state, from using NDAs to prevent workers from talking about instances of illegal harassment and discrimination, retaliation, sexual assault, and wage violations, which seems to me should be a federal law.
Yes, it should be.
Yes.
But
Washington.
this is in response to Cher Scarlett, who was the Apple employee who kind of was a whistleblower on Apple, saying, they basically silence you if you want to talk about any of this stuff. So it is no longer legal to force employees to sign a I should say what an NDA is. It's a non-disclosure act.
Well, there's also, or often it's also a non-disparagement.
Non-disparagement too. Well, when it's not unusual when people quit, we will say, okay, or fired. We'll give you termination. We'll give you severance if you sign a agreement not to say
I
bad
wouldn't
things
sign
about us.
the managing editor's contract at Time Inc. And as a result,
you didn't get your severance.
3 years salary, bonus and benefits. I gave up.
And as a result, have you been disparaging them freely ever since?
No, but I am finally writing the story of EW. Though,
yeah. Now there's an interest now that it's gone.
Yeah, I know.
Yesterday was International Women's Day. Nice that you have a day of your own, Stacey.
Yeah.
Actually, Apple took it to heart. I don't know if you noticed. Well, you didn't because you were at the airport, but a lot of women presenters. In fact, when they talked about the creators using the new hardware, they were all women. And I think that's very conscious on Apple's part. They're very aware of this. This is the Gender Pay Gap Bot, or maybe I should say the Gender Pay Gap Bot. on Twitter. Pay Gap App at Pay Gap.
You need some
App.
hyphens in there, yes.
Yes. It was my fault. My fault. Gender Pay Gap bot.
So what they do is, I don't know where they got the data from exactly, but for every company that put up a, hey, yay, International Women's Day, bot puts up the differential for Women's Day.
That's
then
awesome.
What happened was, then you see the companies deleting the original tweet to get out of it, one after another, after another, after another.
Oh,
brilliant!
So here's a group, Housing 21, as part of our International Women's Day program of events. Blah blah blah. In this organization, according to Gender Pay Gap Bot, the women's median hourly pay is 31% lower than men's. Rah rah, sis boom bah.
I think it's British data.
Clearly, it's British. Yeah, clearly it's British. Tata Steel. On occasion of International Women's Day 2022, we celebrate. We extend our best wishes. In this organization, women's median hourly pay, it's not too bad, only 4.6%.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
Yeah, there's some that's actually better than others. Leeds City College is only 3.1%. So, yeah, it varies.
I think the companies cleared themselves out, but it's brilliant.
Yeah. In the Intellectual Property Office, UK, 30% disparity. 30%. Good for you, Gender Pay Gap Bot. Job well done. And happy International Women's Day.
Information can be a weapon.
Very powerful. Very powerful. Yes. And for some reason, still to this day, putting it on Twitter seems to have some real effect. I know. I never will understand why. But if you want to complain,
it's implementing norms. I mean, we talked about that earlier in the show. I think Twitter is a great place to police social norms.
Sure. Yep. Nobody wants to be disparaged on Twitter. That's where you should do your disparagement. Now that you sacrificed years worth of vacation pay, you should really get something for that,
pay
Jeff.
anything.
Oh, okay.
Vacation pay, hell, it was full 3 years salary.
Well, how could you give that up?
Because I was a young schmuck.
That's a lot of money.
And benefits.
You said, I want the right to disparage you guys.
To the penny.
Wow.
Yeah, because Google,
for journalists to
Google.
sign that.
Do you regret that now?
At this age, yeah. At the time, I was kind of proud of it.
That's all right. You would have spent it on cigars and hot women. It would have been wasted.
I was buried.
Oh. I'm sorry that I said that, Stacey. You would have spent it on a house. That's right, for your children to live in. Reid Hoffman has co-founded his first new company since his sale of LinkedIn. He made, well, I don't know how much he made. He sold LinkedIn to Microsoft for $26 billion 6 years ago. You know, after a few years, spending $1 billion here, $1 billion there, maybe you want to do something else. He's going to start a new company called Inflection that will aim to develop AI software products to make it easier for humans to communicate with computers. But what's, in my opinion, most interesting is his partner, DeepMind co-founder Mustafa Suleyman, and former DeepMind researcher Karen Somonyan. So, some pretty heavy hitters working on this. What would you do to make computers easier for humans?
This is a really good question because I think.
Go ahead.
Well, so yeah, taking instructions in natural language is one, but think about what people don't realize is programs often have, the logic has to be fully thought out. So if I'm communicating with a computer, I do have to still think out my logic for the steps, right? If I want something different to happen, I have to figure out the information I need to put in to get the result I want. And that's really where the challenge is. I mean, yes, coding is hard just from it's another language, but it's also hard because you have to think through what you're actually trying to do.
Yeah, you have to be very precise. In fact, that's exactly what Suleiman said in a conversation with CNBC on Monday. If you think about the history of computing, we've always been trying to reduce the complexity of our ideas in order to communicate them to a machine. Even when we write a search query, we're simplifying, we're reducing, we're writing in shorthand so that the search engine can understand what we want. I was thinking about Wolfram Alpha, which often does a very good job of kind of intuiting what you're trying to get at. In fact, it'll even tell you its logic, which is great. But I guess there's even more we could do. I was trying to, why I was trying the other day to match gas prices, not Bitcoin gas prices, gasoline prices.
Petrol.
Petrol. Thank you. Now we know why we call it petrol. To presidents, because somebody said, well, see what happened? You elect Joe Biden and the gas goes through the roof. And I thought, well, if I could only have a graph correlating gas price to president.
And adjusted for inflation.
Adjusted for inflation. Well, let me see if I can. President. It didn't work. President adjusted for inflation. I think it would do that naturally. All right, let's see. And then Wolfram Alpha says, well, first of all, when you say gas price, I'm assuming you mean gasoline.
Not Ethereum.
Yes.
See? And then it asks.
And then it does have the all grades of gasoline average price per gallon history in the United States. It's good, going back to 1993, all the way up through.
If you go back to the 70s, it would be as high then and now.
Right.
Because of the Arab oil embargo.
Right.
Which was my first big story as a Cub reporter.
Yeah. Jimmy Carter. Lines.
Yep.
Lines. But unfortunately, the presidents are just ignored.
Can you extend the timing to or before the 90s?
Yeah, that seems annoying. Yeah.
Does it tell you the source of the data?
Yeah, it does. It has all sorts of... I love... if you've not played with Wolfram Alpha, it's fantastic.
Wolfram is a big part of the von Neumann book.
Yeah, because... I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Super genius. Man needs an editor, but super genius.
Yeah. Well, that's because I found out. Do you know how he writes?
He just dictates?
No. Wait a minute, let me see if I can find this. He posted a blog post on his workflow.
Oh, God.
Seeking.
I used to have to edit him.
Did you? Oh, good. Well, you'll enjoy this.
Yes.
This is from his blog, StephenWolfram.com. Seeking the Productive Life, some details of my personal infrastructure. There he is. Apparently, he spends a lot of time on Zoom. But he's got a standing desk. Okay. Look, he's on a treadmill while he's working. Okay. Now this is why I think he might be prolix. He writes while he's walking as well. He's got a little. Look at this.
Oh my gosh! It's like a little cigarette girl's.
He's got his table, a stand for his laptop. Note he's also got a microphone on, so he's apparently he's also dictating or talking on the phone, and he calls it his popcorn rig. And so he gets his walks in, but if you've got a long walk, you might as well keep writing.
Yeah, that fits.
I don't know why, but that's stuck in my mind. I'll never forget this picture. Stephen Wolfram in the woods. He's a physicist, right? And a nerd, obviously.
I thought he was a mathematician, but he might be both for all I know.
He does it all. If you read this, it is fascinatingly nerdy. He said, I used to fill up a banker's box with filed papers every couple of months. Now it takes a couple of years. I have a printer under my desk. So he's got these little slots. He has an array of drawers with a little hack. There's a slot at the top that allows me to immediately slide things into the drawer without opening it.
Because that would waste at least 5 nanoseconds.
I think you need this, time. Jeff. I think you need this.
Yes.
Anyway, but brilliant. Very interesting fellow. Didn't he also write a cookbook?
He's done a lot of. He apparently wrote a nifty IoT data store for his nifty software stack.
Of course.
I'm like, look at that. I wrote that forever.
We
had
him on our.
How did you edit him,
show.
Stacey?
Yeah.
Did he write for all?
I was a guest editor at GigaOM. So, or are you asking like why I was the editor, or how? How did I make him short?
Actually,
for
both.
Years.
Mention it.
For years, for a hot second, I was the managing editor at GigaOM, and I hated it. And then I had to shed that job piece by piece. So for like 2 years, I edited and commissioned our guest columns, and it was the worst time of my life. But he was a friend of the site, so he would always submit stuff.
He and Omer are probably best buds. Here's the glasses he found that help keep him from getting car sick.
Oh my Lord!
I don't know what they do.
He's a really good dude.
He's super cool. He's the coolest guy ever.
I had to edit him on the phone. You could not just send him edits, or you could, but you were going to end up having to talk to him. So we would end up talking.
Where did he fight back?
He didn't ever fight back. He, like all really smart people who know what they're doing, he hated any generalizations that I had to make things readable.
You're dumbing it down. You're dumbing it down.
And we went back. I mean, and he respected that, but he also, it pained him. And I get it. I mean, I'm a nerd. It pains me to see things dumbed down.
Yeah.
But you got to do it.
When you're as brilliant as Stephen Wolfram, you think you need to dumb it down for most of us. Very interesting fellow. Anyway. How do we get there? Gas prices. I'm doing it back, rolling it back.
Oh, no code, low code from DeepMind and Reid
AI, making your queries less sophisticated, making the computer smarter about understanding what you want, that kind of thing. And Reid Hoffman's going to be working on it. Oh, you know what I didn't say? Who is Reid Hoffman? He was the founder of LinkedIn and is widely revered.
Brilliant
the guy
investor,
who created the term blitz scaling.
Full disclosure is that Reid gave us the funding to start our engagement journalism degree.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Reid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big security flaw affecting Linux, which includes, by the way, Android. Terrible name, Dirty Pipe. It allows an attacker to do privilege escalation so they can get root. And because it's a Linux flaw and it's in the Linux kernel, it affects not only Android and Chromebooks, but Chromecasts, speakers, and of course desktop computers. Fortunately, because Android devices use actually a fairly old version of the kernel, it's not a problem immediately. Only devices that started with Android 12 are recent enough to have it be an issue. Presumably, it is being patched as we speak. There are no known exploits in the wild yet of Dirty Pipe, but it is considered by many to be the worst Linux exploit yet. Google is releasing an open source harassment filter for journalists. What is a harassment filter?
I actually forget. I put it in there.
It's called Harassment Manager. Here it is on GitHub. Online abuse and harassment silence important voices in conversation. Harassment Manager is a web application that aims to empower users to document and take action on abuse. So it won't actually block abuse. You'll see it, but you can take action. You can report them. It's designed for anyone that this is actually good. I might have to download this. Anyone that experiences significant online harassment, which can be episodic or an ongoing challenge. The tool has been built and tested using a community-based research and design process with active Twitter users, the most harassed group in the world that experience significant or frequent harassment. Target users include folks who are disproportionately impacted by online harassment: women, other marginalized groups, journalists, activists, and politicians. Oh, this comes out of Jigsaw.
Jigsaw, yeah.
Neat. Okay. That should have been in the change log. That's a good one.
Oh, wait, do we have a change log?
Really?
Is it time for the change log?
It's time for
the Google change log.
You got a free one, but we got more. 12L is now 12.1, and it's rolling out to Pixel phones. The 12L tablet hardware coming out by the end of the year. That was kind of the focus, I think, of 12L was tablet. But Pixel 3a, Pixel 4, 4a, 5, and 5a will get 12L. Weirdly, the Pixel 6 will not get an update yet. later this month. I've been running the beta of 12L on my 6 Pro, and it's fine. So, in fact, well, I've never had any problems with my Pixel 6, so I'm a weirdo in that. Anyway, 12L. It's here. It's time. We call this release 12.1, says Google, because that's what makes the most sense. 12.1 is the version Google uses on the factory image page. In blog posts, they're still calling it 12L. If you open your phone's About page, though, you'll find a third name under the Android version, Android 12. Not L, not .1, just plain old Android 12. So Google hasn't even figured out what the name is. But, one of them. We
should have just a running thread. Things Google still needs to figure out.
Oh, no, it would be too long. There is a March Pixel feature drop, though, which many of us will be getting. I checked last night and haven't gotten it yet. It was released on Monday, but I guess as with all of these, it's kind of a staged rollout. If you have a Pixel phone, you're going to get some additional updates. The improvements are designed primarily for folding phones, tablets, and other large screen devices. But Google's adding more functionality to live caption, which is, I think, a great feature. Now, when you're on a phone call, you can see captions of what the other person says and type back a response that will be read out loud on the other end, like a TTY for deaf people.
Oh,
very interesting. So if you're on the train or the bus and you don't want to have a phone call out loud, you can do it completely over text, in effect, text messaging. Love that idea. And, of course, if you're deaf, also great. The new feature drop also adds support for night sight in Snapchat. There's a new moon icon in the Snapchat camera. This is Google working hand-in-hand with Snapchat to offer...
Snapchat hosts on Google Cloud.
Yeah, they're
apparently
a good customer.
It's weird that they're doing something for an app, like a dedicated. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and for it's only for Pixel owners.
Yeah, that is weird. Okay.
It's not the first time the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro shipped with a quick tap to snap feature. You may remember. YouTube watch parties and live sharing functionality for Duo also in the March feature drop. Weirdly, the March feature drop first arrived on the Galaxy S22 series. I'm confused. Emoji and sticker suggestions while typing in Gboard, a new interpreter mode in Google Translate. Activated with, hey, you know who, be my Spanish interpreter. Paint me like your French ladies. And for a new battery widget that shows the status of connected devices. So, there you go. The March feature drop coming soon to a Pixel near you and a Samsung S22. Actually, they're previewing the June Pixel drop already on the Android 12 QPR3 Beta 1. Google kills another fabulous Google thing you never used.
Nobody ever used.
Book on Google for hotels.
That was always terrible. The reason no one used it is because the prices were high and you could never, it was always in advance. You could never do it like the day of.
Is this like they wanted to be Expedia or Hotels.com?
Yeah, it was. And it was frustrating because you'd be like, oh, is this available? And they'd be like, well, it's too soon to tell because it's, tonight. And you're like, this is not helpful.
Anyway, May 25th, they're shuttering that feature. Google Fiber now has a business plan, 2 gigabits for $250 a month, 1 gigabit down now to $100 a month.
I have Giga Envy.
Wow.
Gigabit envy.
What do you have, Stacey? What'd you get?
I only have one.
Oh. One's plenty. I should point out, John's reminding me, he has SonicNet, and his fiber gigabit is $40, you said? Yeah, $50 when you add the fees and stuff. That's pretty good. Half what Google is charging. If you are calling, let's see, is it calling from or to Ukraine. Google Voice and Fi temporarily waive calling fees to Ukraine. Let me see. International calling fees from Ukraine and from the U.S. to Ukraine are now the rates are now zero, nothing, nada.
They can erase the fees from Ukraine to anywhere.
Yeah. That's great. And Google has said, we have expanded eligibility for Project Shield, our free protection against DDoS attacks, so that Ukrainian government websites, embassies worldwide, and other governments in close proximity to the conflict can stay online. And of course, we talked earlier about Cloudflare and CrowdStrike and ping services.
Interesting. When I go to Kiev Independent, which I recommended last week, which is excellent, or when I go to RT.com, Cloudflare comes up and says, I'm checking your browser for a few seconds.
They've got DDoS. That's their DDoS protection.
DDoS protection.
Yep.
Make sure you're legit.
Legit? Are you legit? He's too legit to quit. Chrome OS 99 just came out. Faster desk creation, improved palm rejection, nearby share. And one more thing on the bye-bye list. Google's pulling the plug on Assistant Snapshot, which was, according to 9 to 5 Google, the only trace left of Google Now. So if you want to see what it did, you can ask your assistant for updates that you see in your snapshot, like calendar events, birthday reminders, stock prices. Why would they kill that? What do they save?
Google Now used to be my favorite, so I just don't get it.
Don't understand.
I just give up.
I remember when Google Now came out, I was singing its praises, saying, "This is the future.
Me too.
This is where Google's going to, put everybody in the dust."
Did we all use it or not?
Yeah,
I used it, and would have used it more had they beefed it up even more.
Yeah, they had to start tying it into more things. Yeah, it was such a disappointment.
The idea was it was card based, and when you get to the airport, there's your tickets. Here's the weather of the city you're going to. It would kind of know what you're doing. And I guess, privacy advocates and just people scared about privacy just probably killed it, that nobody wanted to use it.
Oh, that actually makes sense. But I opted into everything.
I did too.
Yeah.
For it to be useful, you had to say, yeah, you can see everything. You can look at my Gmail, whatever you want. And that's probably what killed it, I'm going to guess.
Well, they still do things like they still pull stuff from my email into my calendar for me and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
They're a new feature. I guess they're not now features now, I guess. I don't know.
Well, Snapshot was one of them, but that's going away.
Oh, that's so terrible.
Oh, it's so sad. That's so sad. I thought I would check on my Samsung Galaxy S22 and see if I have a feature drop. Maybe to get it here before I get on my Pixel. That'd be hysterical. Nope. Software's up to date. Security patch January. That sucks. That's why you buy a Pixel, right? Right there. Right there in a nutshell.
Don't make me have Pixel envy.
How's your Flip?
Little Samsung
How's your Flip 3?
It's great.
You like it?
I love it. Come to me. Ta-da!
Oh, I like that wallpaper. And,
this is just the
and you don't mind
wallpaper.
the manly wallet, or you're not using the case?
I am using the case.
Oh, okay.
I always use a case.
Yeah, it's good.
No,
I
don't
think
mind
for
the
that
manly
phone
wallet.
especially, you kind of want to keep it a little. Isn't that cute? Look how cute it is.
And it has the little, I didn't realize this until it was there. And then I was like, hello.
Isn't that nice? It's got a little screen on the back
That's
so that you
nice.
can see what your notifications are, what the time is. And it actually, you can mess with that and get it to show even more stuff.
Ooh, show more stuff.
Show more stuff.
I usually want my phone to show me less stuff in general because I'm easily distracted. But yes.
Yep. Turn off notifications. That's for sure. And that changed laws. Elon Musk says, I was forced, I tell you, into an agreement with the SEC. You should throw it out now. Oh, gosh.
Can we just all sigh and move on, please?
Sigh. This is the one where he tweeted funding secured to make Tesla private at $420 a share. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. A claim later determined to be untrue, but of course it sent the stock price sailing.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Do tech startup founders need to be jerks?
Well,
There's an argument for that, yes.
So there's a couple shows on TV now about this.
Right.
Did you? So there's
Super Pumped.
Super Pumped,
starting
which
to watch
is
that.
the Uber story, and he's a complete ass from day one, Travis Kalanick.
Though the taxi people are sometimes worse.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's true in that sense. I mean, the medallion owners and the taxi commission hated
for
it.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, even from when he's pitching at the very beginning, he's pitching what was called Uber car at the time to a venture capitalist. He lies and says he invented it. He didn't invent it. He kind of took it over. So I mean, I don't know how accurate it is. Honestly, it's a little painful for me to watch because
I don't watch any of those shows because I feel like I've lived through it. I don't.
Yeah. The Dropout's quite good because it's that's about Elizabeth Holmes and the Theranos story. It starts when she's a little girl, and so it gives you a little bit more, perhaps, depending on how accurate it is, a little more perspective into why she did. I mean, that's the question: why she did this? Did she knowingly defraud people? Was she swept up by events? What exactly happened? And I think they give you a pretty good explanation of that. It's I also like it because it's from a podcast, and
So you're saying on the whole, and I have an exception in a second, but on the whole, are you saying they do need to be jerks?
No, but you look at Steve Jobs, you look at Bill Gates, who was a real
Henry
jerk.
Ford was a jerk.
Who was?
Henry Ford.
Oh my God, was he a jerk? But maybe he wasn't a jerk for the times. I don't know.
What about Reid Hoffman? Was he a jerk?
No. I don't.
No.
By all accounts, he was a good
we
guy.
had Perry Chen talk to my class the other day, and he was not a jerk, and he also, started what is in fact a small and successful company, and
that's kind of the question that they ask in The Dropout. Did she have to lie to get funding? Is it fake it till you make it? And does that? I mean, obviously, it wasn't bro culture in her case, but it was that same kind of drive to break the rules, move fast and break things, fake it till you make it. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I don't think you have to be.
Let me ask a different question. If they weren't, then fine. Then if they weren't by chance so jerky, attracting more jerks, would the internet be better? Would it have a better reputation?
I don't know. I think it doesn't. It actually probably helps if you're a jerk. I really do think it helps. I don't think it's necessary, but I think it is helpful if you're a jerk to be a founder at a company, because it helps you stick to your vision, and also probably gives you a little insulation from questioning the ethics or the ramifications of some of your decisions that I think are needed to succeed or to really burst out. I don't know. Oh.
Be glad you don't live in South Korea. You put this in, didn't you, Jeff?
Yeah, I did.
South Korean election graphics are next level.
You got to start that one over again. It's unbelievable.
This is a bear. I don't know what's going on.
I know exactly.
네, 눈을 뗄 수가 없는데요. 생생하게 손에 닿을 것처럼 느껴지기도.
A faceless bear that picks up the candidates like they're dolls.
반갑게 인사를 전하고 있고요. 표가 후보 이념을 하는.
This screen technology you see in a lot of places. The idea is it's really just a flat screen, but you can make it feel like it's 3D because there's a bend in it. And so it feels like the edge. It tricks your eye, and so it's kind of cool. But it's just a flat screen. Here's more with the bear. Yeah.
Skip down to any of them. They're all unbelievable. There's a bear with a rocket going off.
Well, we could do that. We could do this. Here's the candidates. What?
You're doing Korean sign language.
How did they get them? Is sign language widespread in Korea, or?
Well, people are deaf in lots of places, sure.
Oh, okay. Because all of these, by the way, have somebody signing in the corner, which is interesting. Maybe they're just a little more sensitive to that. I don't know.
Then there's I think the next one down. They're competing. Oh, no, this one. Yeah, that one. They're competing.
Well, I don't know. If you probably don't watch the NFL, but there is a trend towards these quickie graphics now in the NFL. They're incredibly corny and dumb because they're cheap. They're quickie. They're not even as good as this, although this isn't the greatest. That's just so they're playing this as an ice skating race.
It doesn't add anything to the information.
No.
Zero.
But it makes you watch. I mean, it's cultural. Some places maybe they like the graphics. They like more graphics. I love this screen. We could do this. Should we start doing this? Anthony, you could do that, right?
The bear?
Yeah, or whatever. I could have Stacey and Jeff be in a curved box, and they could feel like they're reaching out to grab me.
And punching you, Leo.
Punching me. Oh, watch out. Here comes,
you.
the doors are closing. Oh. Wow. But what's funny is you see this all the time in lighthearted stuff, but that in an election.
They're the elections today, I think.
Yeah. Wow. I think this is an example of TV broadcasters, even in South Korea, really don't think much of their audience. They think, if we don't keep this very exciting. You see, and by the way, as a corollary, you could see how much we trust and love our audience and their intelligence because we have none of this. We're, in fact, quite a dull show. We don't attempt in any way to keep your attention. We just kind of slog along.
No, we're very, very smart.
This is our show right here in a nutshell. And then, in other news, did you see this? This is good. The Endurance has been found off the coast of Antarctica.
I love this.
3 miles deep. Almost perfectly preserved because it's so cold and so deep and there's so little oxygen at that depth. This is the famous story of Shackleton, who was trapped in the ice. The glacier squeezed his boat. His men had to get off. They hiked for days to get to civilization in very daunting odds. He saved every one of them.
Look at that. Look at that.
Great leadership.
It's perfectly
It's like when you see the Titanic, Fortunately, treaties mean that they cannot touch or remove any items from this ship. It's just has to
I almost wish it could be up, though.
Well, yeah, I mean,
there's that one enemy there saying, I'm in charge now.
Yeah. Look at this. Isn't that amazing?
Oh.
Wow.
And it was like an amateur historian who figured it out.
Yeah. It was 3 miles from where they thought it would be, where it was position was last
Shackleton
recorded.
Thought his position was.
I mean, give him a break. It was probably pretty stressful.
Yeah.
Is this where I parked my car?
Scooter X is telling the story in our chat room. Endurance never reached land and became trapped in the dense ice pack, and the 28 men on board eventually had no choice but to abandon ship after months spent in makeshift camps on the ice floes drifting northwards. The party took to the lifeboats to reach the inhospitable, uninhabited
Scooter X he's writing a novel in the chat.
Elephant Island. Shackleton and 5 others then made an extraordinary 800-mile open boat journey in the lifeboat. James cared to reach South Georgia. Shackleton and 2 others then crossed the mountainous land to the whaling station of Stromness. From there, Shackleton was able to eventually mount a rescue of the men waiting on Elephant Island and bring them home without loss of life. Pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive. Let us, unless there's a story that either of you are itching to talk about. I think we've done all of your stories, Jeff.
Oh, they're hidden in there.
Are you sure? Because we haven't done anything related to TikTok.
Well, there is a TikTok story.
Oh, there is a video food story that's pretty amazing.
The remote village in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
So one story actually we didn't talk about, but I think is very interesting, is Amazon is launching something called AMP, which Google might have something to say about, but it's not the same. Amazon AMP is a live audio app. It's kind of like Clubhouse, but you can play music in it.
You're a DJ.
And you can take phone calls.
Yeah.
So it's basically talk radio or music radio in an app. Right now, only available in pre-release. You have to be invited to use it, and I think they only have an iPhone app, but they will have others. Pretty exciting.
I would do it. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah. It's free.
You can spin.
Yeah.
You can make your
you
own.
can be Leo Laporte at the beginning of his career.
This is, I think, as important as YouTube was to video creators. For instance, I could do my own talk radio show. I could take phone calls.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, we could have a heck of a good time, Kevin and I doing something.
Play
like
a
that.
song. They have
Did you
deals.
talk up the songs when you were a DJ?
Oh, yeah, of course. You have to. Yeah. Well, you don't have to. It's a terrible thing to do. It ruins the song, but it makes you feel pretty damn good. You got tens of millions of licensed songs from the big three music companies, a long list of independent music companies. CD Baby is in there as well. No subscription, no additional hardware, no editing. It's right through the iPhone. Fascinating. There are going to be shows from Nicki Minaj. She's going to bring her radio show, Queen Radio, to AMP. Pusha T, Tinashe, Lindsey Sterling, the violinist, Travis Barker, Lil Yachty, and Big Boy. Well-known personalities Tefi Pessoa and Nikita Dragun, popular radio hosts Zach Sang, Kate Corbett, Christian James Hand, and Guy Raz, who took his How I Built This to Wondery, to Amazon. They own it. So to me, this is really bigger than maybe you might think. This is Amazon saying, just like Spotify, yeah, we want to own the audio landscape.
Podcasting, I think, it's been done. I mean, you've done it now.
It's done.
So
this is the next
somebody's
thing.
looking for the next thing. Yeah.
This is Clubhouse. This is Clubhouse and more.
I think it's so far beyond Clubhouse.
Oh, I agree. So far. Because
it's more
you play
like
music.
Everybody could be a radio station.
Yeah, but they focus on music, but I don't think it's just music. I mean, I really think you could do anything. Yeah. You also have can take callers with control over who speaks and when. You can pre-plan and schedule your shows, listen to songs in real time with your audience. They plan, according to Amazon, to add even more from Alexa integrations to social sharing to innovative new search and discovery features. Man, I'd love to get an invite. This seems like, I really think this might be the future. Yeah, you think what you and Kevin could do. Yeah,
I am. Yeah. We already have a call-in.
Do you? Yeah.
We could have more.
So interesting play by Amazon for this. Onamp.com. ONAMP.com. And it is an iOS app. I guess you do your show in iOS?
Oh, no. I want to do it in Android.
Well, but this is pre-release, so it's right now. It's all right. Stream your own radio show with the songs you love. It's your mix and your mic. I don't know. Clubhouse is kind of no longer the flavor of the month, so maybe this is the next big thing. Or maybe it's Korean election graphics. Who knows? Get ready. Your picks of the week are next, boy and girl. But first, a word from our sponsors, CashFly. This show is quite literally brought to you by CashFly, our CDN, Content Delivery Network. We've used them for more than a decade now. We wouldn't be able to do these shows without CashFly. Thank you. Thank you, CashFly. Now you can do video with CashFly. I mean, live video. And you can go live in hours, not days. And get this, less than 1 second latency. It's CashFly's ultra-low latency video streaming, and it sure beats that unreliable WebRTC solution. For their WebSocket live video workflow, scalable to millions of users, reach your audience anywhere in the world. CashFly, of course, is famous because of their 50-plus locations around the globe, so your content is delivered closer to your customers, outperforming local CDNs. With CashFly's storage optimization system, you could take a load off your origin servers and reduce your S3 bills while your cache hit ratio hits 100%. This is something we've been using for years. Now they're offering it to everybody. And of course, with CashFly's elite managed packages, you'll get VIP treatment, 24/7 response and support times in less than an hour. To summarize, ultra-low latency video streaming, more than 1 million concurrent users, lightning-fast gaming, which delivers downloads faster with zero lag, glitches, or outages. Mobile content optimization, offering automatic and simple image optimization so your site loads faster on any device. Multiple CDNs for redundancy and failover. which intelligently balances your traffic across multiple providers, giving you the shortest routes, mitigating against performance glitches. CacheFly is 10 times faster than the methods we were using, and it's on 6 continents, so we're closer to you. 30% faster than other major CDNs. A 98% cache hit ratio. And by the way, over the last 12 months, they've had 100% availability. Not down once. Best of all, 24/7, 365-day-a-year priority support. They'll always be there when you need them. CacheFly. We love you, CacheFly. Thank you, CacheFly. You should check them out. CacheFly is giving away a complimentary detailed analysis of your current CDN bill and usage trends. See if you are overpaying 20% or more. If you have a CDN, bring your CDN bill and your usage trends to CacheFly. If you don't, now you really need to go to twit.cachefly.com and talk to them. That's what I did, and let them see how they can help you. And I've never looked back. twit.cachefly.com. They've been a great support. We'd love it if you'd take advantage of this offer. twit.cachefly.com. All right, let's see. What does Stacey have for her thing of the week?
I have got some good stuff for you.
Good stuff.
Ow. Sorry. Okay, that's not opening. I've got a different good stuff for you. This is a USB-powered air quality monitor sensor.
Okay.
From a company called Piera. This is called the Canary. It has a silly accent mark, but it's the Canary. Here, I'll show you. the.
It's
Anastasia.
Canarsie.
Yes.
Canary.
Canary.
Canary. Canary.
Anyway,
that's not an accent. That's a long A.
Yeah, they,
Canary.
Because there's a lot of other companies with that. Canary.
A long A is A.
Canary.
A long A is A.
Canary.
Anyway. This sensor. This is a little bit more professional for your home. People use this in enterprise settings. But I was testing it because inside is a chip that is performing most air quality sensors check for estimates. They basically shine a little laser light. They count the particulates in the air using the laser lights, and then they're like, this has about 20, and then it's X part per billion, right? They make their assessment on this. This actually does some computer vision on the device to get the exact count.
Am I in the right place? Is it this?
No, that's a security product.
See, this is why it's confusing.
Yeah, it's PIERA Systems. What this company did is built a chip, and then they were like, well, what the heck can we do with this? Because we're able to, at low battery power, do some machine learning that gives you exact particulate measurements as opposed to estimates. So this is interesting because it's an exact measurement of particulates.
So the purple is an estimate. It's not doing the same thing.
Yes, the purple is a good example of an estimate. It's not exactly tracking your particular matter. I mean, it's still it's good enough for you.
I have purples inside and outside from when we had the fires, and it was, really hard to breathe. Okay.
So you could get one of these and test it for how much better it is or how much more accurate it is. And it also, I believe, pulls data more often than purple, which can be useful simply because you want your data to be sampling as often as possible. Because when the air quality gets bad, you want to be like, oh, I know now, instead of breathing it for 30 minutes when it's not great.
Yeah. Well, for the next fire. So you don't plug it in to a computer.
So these are designed to be plugged into access points, Wi-Fi access points. They've got to deal with like Aruba and other places. I plugged mine into an outlet. What are they called? I just plug it into a USB
port
thing in the dongle. Thank you. Yes. Power supply. Thank you.
Stacey on IoT.
Oh, one of those battery packs. Okay.
No. Just the power supply that then plugs into the wall. It's
okay. A USB hub. No.
Is it even a hub?
Just a power supply. That's good. And then does it use Bluetooth to talk to? What is it talking to?
It does.
Yeah.
It uses Bluetooth.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have explained that.
Nice.
And it contains an ESP32, everybody's favorite alternative chip design.
Oh, yes. $200, so it's not cheap, but I think the purple.
No, this isn't really for people.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really neat device, and I think it's a neat concept because I'm a sucker for people who are like, oh, I built some cool silicon technology. Let me not sell that because that's commodity and sell build a device. Blink did that and then was bought by Amazon, for example.
Right. Neat. From PieraSystems.com, Piera. The Canary A1 for Aruba. Oh, wait a minute. I got the one for Aruba access points. I was wondering why they kept saying Aruba access points. There's also, that was $200. This is $250. That's the one you have, I think. Connect to the cloud using Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Ethernet, and monitor here from everywhere. Cool. Do they have so one of the things I like about Purple is you could be part of a larger map of air quality.
They do not do
don't
that.
have that. Yeah.
I mean, because part of this, they want to design, this is for companies who are if you're a small business owner and you're like, let's check out our indoor air quality. This is a solution for you for that.
Right. Jeff Jarvis, your number or pick?
I'm going to do a really quick one.
Yeah.
So Matt Carolian is one of my favorite people on Twitter. Really, really smart guy. He's the general manager of Boston.com, which is the Boston Globe platforms there. He's was a Nieman Fellow at Harvard. He teaches journalism at the Harvard Extension. We were having a discussion on Twitter, as we do, about wonky media things this week. The Wall Street Journal did a supposed expose about ads misplaced in the Gannett network, and they said there were billions of ads, and I said, this is ridiculous, and Matt and I were going back and forth, and then Matt came in, Leo, this is going to hit you with a solar plexus like it did me, and he said, unrelated, I find it so bizarre that you reply to my tweets. When I was in high school and college, I would listen to you on This Week in Tech with Leo Laporte. You guys were just effectively fictional characters to me at that point.
Yes, we still are.
You've been around that long?
You ought to see Anastasia W. Higginbotham.
He was in high school. Yeah. It's like that makes us so old.
But the worst thing is, and it happened just the other day on Reddit, where people say, is he still alive? Is he still around? I remember him from when I was in high school. Whatever happened, or worse, almost. Whatever happened to him?
Ouch!
I know. That's all right. That's the price of fame and fortune. What can I say?
It is.
So, is that a number? That's just a number.
That's just old.
Okay.
We're just old.
Okay.
Yeah, I could have done another.
He's forgotten the number because he's old.
Yes. The Man from the Future, Visionary Life of John von Neumann. I think you guys will like that.
I want to get that book. Thank you for recommending that. That's great.
That is a good rec.
Yeah.
I listened to it.
Yeah. Added to my wish list. Very much so.
Which plan do you use on Audible?
They've been trying to get me off it forever because I signed up in 2000 when they had they called it the light listener plan. It was $2 a month, and it was fairly inexpensive. And I even got email from the founder and stuff saying, when you you sign up, that was he wanted me to pay more. No, I have my deal. So
when I wanted to do my language lessons on it, I needed a lot of tokens, whatever they call it. And so I signed up for the annual one, 24.
Yes.
So it's about to come due, and I'm going to suddenly get a whomp.
How much is that out of curiosity?
I forget. But it's always basically about $10 a month. I think it was
it was $10 a month for 2 monthly credits.
No, that's it's about $10. So when I buy the 3 extra credits, which I do frequently, very frequently, it's I think an extra $10 for the extra 3 credits. So no, it's $10 per credit. I mean, 9 something per credit.
Yeah. Well, I still love you, Audible. That's all I can say. And they are also, we should mention, a sponsor. which I probably should always say when we talk about them. Thank you. I'm not going to do a pick because I'm too lazy.
You're just lazy and old.
And it's 5 o'clock.
And it's 5 o'clock.
I already ordered my sushi. The sushi takes forever. I already ordered it.
The sun has gone over the yard arm. I thank you so much, Stacey, or as we know her, Anastasia W. Higginbotham.
Oh, Lord.
Stacey on IoT.com. She does the podcast with Kevin Toffel and has a great newsletter, too, that's free to all. So is the site. Please. This poor woman's starving. Just join. Do something. Stacey on IoT.com. Do you have a premium membership? No. You don't charge.
No, I don't charge. Well, I charge my advertisers. So if you feel like really special, you can click on my advertisers. They're a good group of people.
There you go.
So that's
the way
about
to do
it.
That's the way to do it. Mr. Jeff Jarvis is, of course, the director of the Town Knight Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. Ray Kroc called him a nickel millionaire, but he's our nickel millionaire. Oh, yeah.
At least it's at least 10 cents by now.
John sees what I'm looking at right now. I didn't realize it's already time to spring forward. So that means...
You think you just lost 2 hours of your life listening to us? You're about to lose another hour.
Another one's going away, kiddo. March 13th, we spring forward. So if you want to watch the show right now, it's on the air at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, and it used to be 2200, but we're going to spring forward, which means relative to UTC, we're going to spring backwards, or it's going to go backwards. We're going to go forward, so it's 2100 UTC.
Oh, Einstein of you.
It's very relativistic. It took me a long time to understand that if we set our clocks forward, that in effect, we are starting an hour earlier in the rest of the world. I think that even as I say it, doesn't make any sense.
Oh, it hurts my brain.
If you are, however, as in the UK, because, ever since... I think it was Obama where we decided, no, we want to do it earlier and later. And then, so the rest of the world, it's not for a couple of weeks. That even makes it worse.
It really does. But it's even worse? What? Talking about it for 5 minutes. Let's go.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Come back here next week at some time or other, and we'll be here for you. Have a wonderful week. And that's it for this week in Google. Bye-bye.
Hey, I'm Rod Pyle, editor of Ad Astra magazine, and each week I'm joined by Tarek Malik, the editor-in-chief over at Space.com, in our new This Week in Space podcast. Every Friday, Tarek and I take a deep dive into the stories that define the new space age. What's NASA up to? When will Americans once again set foot on the moon? And how about those samples from the Perseverance rover? When are those coming home? What the heck has Elon Musk done now? In addition to all the latest and greatest in space exploration, we'll take an occasional look at bits of spaceflight history that you probably never heard of, and all with an eye towards having a good time along the way. Check us out on your favorite podcatcher.